Chapter 950. Let's go. Ling Xiao and Cold Plum headed to Circle 1, which was the closest to Circle 2. The door of the human circle was always closed, but it could not stop these warriors. The reason why no one dared to go out was because of the fear in their hearts. They had set up a cage for themselves. Ling Xiao did not have a cage in his heart, so he could go out if he wanted to. Fortunately, Ling Xiao found nearly 300 warriors from the Sky Dragon continent who were imprisoned here. When Qin Huo was mentioned, these people were very excited. Ling Xiao showed them Qin was soul telepathy and gained their trust. The boss of Circle 1 is Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. He broke through to the Avalon of 5 elements earlier than Celestial Venerable Leech. Although he is also in the early stage, his fighting power should be stronger. Be careful, young Masterling. Don't make any moves for now. After I kill Celestial Venerable Flying Rat, you will take over this place. When things get out of hand, meet me and we will escape together. After making an agreement with these 300 people, Ling Xiao went to find Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. Celestial Venerable Flying Rat was slightly stronger than Celestial Venerable Leech. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was much stronger than 3 days ago. After finding Celestial Venerable Flying Rat, he did not waste any time and directly threw out the red sun All. The All, which was like a red sun, tore through the void and crashed into Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. Bang! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. Celestial Venerable Flying Rat did not even know who he had encountered before his body was pierced and he died. At the moment of his death, Celestial Venerable Flying Rat had many subordinates protecting him. However, they only realized what had happened when Celestial Venerable Flying Rat was completely dead. Then they clamored to avenge Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. In the end, they were killed by the dancing plum blossoms in the sky. Of course, it was Cold Plum who attacked. Who are these two fellows? How dare they kill someone in the underground factory? Aren't they afraid of Piping Island's investigation? Humph! Do they look like people who are afraid of trouble? Black Rat Celestial Lord has been tyrannical here for so many years. Many experts have died in his hands, but he was killed by that young man in one move. My goodness, if I had such strength, I would have resisted. Daughter, someone has finally avenged you. Father has been waiting for this for decades. Father, Mother, Celestial Demonic Rat is dead. Do you know that he's dead? Now you can rest in peace in the 9 springs. Ling Xiao and Lung Mei came in a hurry and left in a hurry. After killing the people, they took the storage rings and turned to leave, not stopping at all. The slaves in Circle 1 were dumbfounded by this scene. But, hee, Empyrean Black Rat has even more heavenly origin crystals than Empyrean Leech. How many did you get from his subordinates? Lung Mei replied, I have a total of 1,500 here. Ling Xiao smiled and said, These fellows are really ruthless. I really don't know how they got so many Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. Master, you can have these too. Cold Plum said, No need. I will take the leaders next. The subordinates, Celestial Venerable Flying Rat, will be yours. I can't let you work for nothing. Ling Xiao waved his hand and said, Don't decline. This is an order. Although he needed the Celestial Venerable Flying Rat, he wasn't shameless enough to compete with his own people. There were a total of 5 circles in the underground factory. Circle number 5 was the strongest. The leaders of the other 4 circles were similar in strength. After Ling Xiao dealt with circle number 1, he went to circle number 3 and circle number 4. He obtained a total of 4,000 low-grade Celestial Venerable Flying Rat. Only circle number 5 is left. It is said that the Celestial Venerable Earth Fire there's a little tricky. Cold Plum looked in the direction of circle number 5 and said, after counting the Celestial Venerable Flying Rat, Ling Xiao didn't choose to go into seclusion to cultivate. Time was running out. It was the 25th, and there were only 6 days left. In these 6 days, he had too many things to do. If it wasn't for the urgent need to raise his cultivation, he wouldn't have wasted that time. It was just that the leader of the slaves in circle number 5 was a little strong. It was said that this person came here 50 years ago, and his cultivation was at the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. It was hard to say what level his cultivation had reached. According to some slaves, Piping Island didn't like a leader of the slaves ruling all 5 circles. That would weaken their ruling position. Otherwise, the celestial venerable earth fire would have become the real leader of the underground factory. How do we know if we don't try? If we really can't defeat him, let's work together. Ling Xiao had other plans. If the two of them couldn't defeat the celestial venerable earth fire, then he could only give up on starting a riot and escape with the 300 soldiers. Actually, even if the celestial venerable earth fire was at the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements, Ling Xiao could still win with his current strength. It would just be a little more troublesome. If Cold Plum was included, it would be easy to win. He just hoped that this guy's cultivation wasn't higher than 7 stars heaven. That would be troublesome. Where is the celestial, venerable earth fire? In circle number 5, Cold Plum's dagger was pressed against the neck of a 4 symbols heaven expert. She was interrogating him about the whereabouts of the celestial, venerable earth fire. Go in that direction. The expert nervously pointed in a direction and said, "He's not lying." Ling Xiao condensed his soul power into a line and released it in a direction. This way he could detect further. Sure enough, in the direction that the expert pointed, he felt a strong force. Such a strong force was undoubtedly the celestial, venerable earth fire. Many thanks. Cold Plum dropped the expert and followed Ling Xiao in that direction. It seems that no matter where it is, the law of the jungle has never changed. Looking at those experts who were trembling in fear and hiding at the side, Ling Xiao couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. In the mystic world, strength is indeed the most important. If you're not strong enough, you can only be controlled by others and do what others allow you to do. If you're strong enough, you can become the person who sets the laws and rules the laws. In Ling Xiao's personality, there had always been an innate desire to control. He hated being oppressed and controlled by others. If he had to live like a marionette, that would be the greatest punishment for him. That was why he desperately wanted to become stronger, hoping to be able to control the laws in his own hands. Cold Plum was willing to follow Ling Xiao. Apart from the fact that Ling Xiao saved her, there was probably another very important reason, which was Ling Xiao's innate temperament. Only this kind of person could reach the peak of the mystic world and become its master. Tenacious, brave, full of adventurous spirit, and also good at scheming. He would never be soft-hearted, but he would not kill the innocent. Such a person was really the most standard king in Cold Plum's heart. Chapter 951. No matter where Ling Xiao was, he would always be the most dazzling. In Sky Peak City, he made those geniuses flabbergasted. In Sky Cloud City, he made those experts dumbfounded. In Yuehua School, he took less than a year to become the #1 disciple. In Sacred Dynasty's Sacred City, he defeated the Holy Sun, who was invincible under the age of 20, and obtained the glory of Heaven's chosen son. He even defeated the terrifying Yin-Yang Demon King and Lightning Demon King. In Divine Phoenix Empire's capital, he once again became the focus of attention. And here, he was still doing things that were different from others. Why would a person succeed? This question was very difficult to answer. But if one blindly followed behind others and followed the rules, then one would definitely not succeed. Stop right there. Cold Plum was examining her master when a sudden, loud shout woke her up from her thoughts. Circle number 5 was indeed the strongest circle among the 5. Ling Xiao and Cold Plum had just entered circle number 5 when they were discovered by heavenly venerable earthly fire's men. Moreover, most of the people in circle number 5 seemed to have been recruited by heavenly venerable earthly fire. They were all dressed in the same uniform and looked majestic. It was as if they had become an independent kingdom. Get heavenly venerable, earthly fire out here. Ling Xiao shouted loudly, courting death. Faced with such provocation, how could heavenly venerable, earthly fire's men let them off? Dozens of experts moved out and pounced towards Ling Xiao and Cold Plum. Cold Plum glanced at Ling Xiao and said, Master, leave these people to me. After obtaining Ling Xiao's permission, Cold Plum flew up and the plum blossom martial spirit behind her changed. What appeared was a blurry black shadow which emitted a terrifying, murderous aura. Swoosh! Just a black shadow flashed past, and dozens of heavenly venerable, earthly fire's men all fell to the ground dead. The most terrifying thing was that when they died, there was a red mark on their necks, and there were no other injuries on the rest of their bodies. What a fast sword! But you dare to kill our people? You're courting death. The one who attacked was a martial artist holding a long spear. His cultivation had actually reached the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements, comparable to Cold Plum. Heavenly Empyrean, earthly fire's top subordinate, had strength that was on par with the leaders of the other 4 circles. It was enough to show that Heavenly Empyrean, earthly fire's strength was extraordinary. We don't know who's courting death yet. Cold Plum did not back down. The 2 martial souls behind him exerted force at the same time, and his speed was extremely fast. The long and short swords in his hands exploded with plum blossom sword chi that filled the sky, enveloping the long spear martial artist. Boom! Energy chi danced in the air, and the surrounding walls were shattered. The 2 of them had a solid head-on collision. The spear-wielding martial artist flew back more than 10 meters, while Cold Plum only retreated 2 or 3 steps before standing firm. What a strong woman! The spear-wielding warrior believed that even if he were to encounter the bosses of the other 4 circles, he would absolutely not be afraid. It was precisely because of this that he had become heavenly venerable, earthly fire's right-hand man. Under normal circumstances, heavenly venerable, earthly fire would not appear, and would wholeheartedly cultivate. Heavenly venerable, earthly fire was indeed the boss of circle number 5, but the actual management was carried out by him. Originally, he thought that there would be no problem in dealing with this woman who came looking for trouble. But after one move, he realized that he had made a serious error in judgment. The woman in front of him was stronger than him, and much stronger. After all, even the leaders of the other 4 circles couldn't defeat him in one move. Xan, what's the matter? A loud and clear voice came from all directions, making it impossible to determine his exact location. This person's voice revealed a strong earthly fire aura, which was eerily cold and made one's hair stand on end. Boss, trouble has come knocking. I can't settle it alone. Xan did not look at Ling Xiao because he did not care about Ling Xiao at all. He only felt that it was not possible for him to defeat Cold Plum alone, which was why he told Heavenly Venerable, earthly fire the truth. Compared to his face, of course his life was more important. There's actually someone that you can't handle. All right, then I'll come out and meet you. Before his voice landed, an eerie white figure suddenly appeared in front of Ling Xiao and Cold Plum. The speed was so fast that Cold Plum felt ashamed of her inferiority. Ling Xiao's expression did not change. He examined Heavenly Venerable, earthly fire in front of him and heaved a sigh of relief. Heavenly Venerable, earthly fire was very strong, but he was still much weaker than he had imagined. He did not even need Cold Plum to intervene. He could take care of this guy alone. You don't seem like the bosses of the other 4 circles. What do you 2 want to do? Heavenly Venerable, earthly fire glanced at Ling Xiao and Cold Plum indifferently and asked sternly, Do you dare to come out of the underground factory with us? Ling Xiao felt that he could still rope in Heavenly Venerable, earthly fire. This guy's strength was not bad. If he was willing to join them, he would definitely be a great help. The eye of the world operated. Ling Xiao could clearly see that heavenly venerable, earthly fire's cultivation had already reached the advanced stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. The total amount of heavenly elemental energy in his body was more than 4 times that of heavenly venerable black rat. In other words, heavenly venerable earthly fire was much stronger than heavenly venerable black rat in terms of cultivation and heavenly elemental energy. Of course, it took 50 years to cultivate from the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements to the advanced stage. This kind of aptitude could not be compared to a genius like Bloodskull. This person's strength was ultimately inferior to Bloodskull. In fact, he was much weaker than Bloodskull. This was the difference between an ordinary warrior and a genius warrior. Go out? Ha 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 ha. I have no intention of going out. It won't be too late to go out after I cultivate to the Grotto Heaven realm. When heavenly venerate earthly fire heard Ling Xiao's words, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. What's more, who do you think you are? Are you even worthy of speaking to me? If it were the woman beside you, she might have some qualifications. So there's no room for discussion? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. What's there to talk about? The 2 of you actually dared to barge into my 5th circle and kill so many of my subordinates. I'll give the 2 of you a chance now. Do you choose to be my subordinates or die? Heavenly venerable, earthly fire's attitude was very overbearing. Of course, he looked down on Ling Xiao. However, he could still rope in Cold Plum. You're overestimating yourself. Previously, Heavenly Venerable Leech also wanted us to be his subordinates. However, he's now lying in hell and dreaming. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Kid, you're very arrogant. However, arrogant people usually don't have good endings. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire squinted his eyes and said, I really can't see what qualifications a mere peak heaven of 3 talents expert like you have to be so arrogant in front of me. Could it be that you're stronger than the woman beside you? Perhaps not as strong as her, but it's enough to kill you. Ling Xiao really hoped that Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire would let him enjoy himself to the fullest. The previous few Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire had been dealt with in 1 move. Those that could not be dealt with in 1 move were dealt with in 2 moves. Therefore, he had not been able to properly experience his strength after his cultivation had increased. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire was much stronger than those few Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire. Perhaps he would be a good training partner. Chapter 952. Ha 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 ha. Kid, you have successfully infuriated me. However, I don't appreciate you. You can die now. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire laughed maniacally. From his words, one could tell that he was furious. Furthermore, he was burning with rage. Boss, don't underestimate this person. I've received news that this person has consecutively defeated 4 bosses from Circle 1 to Circle 4. His strength is not to be underestimated. He must have some ultimate move. Xian reminded from the side. How can those people be compared to me? Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire said with disdain. Xian, your cultivation has increased, but why is your guts getting smaller? Xian shook his head helplessly. He didn't know if his premonition was right. However, he felt that something was amiss with Ling Xiao. His cultivation wasn't great, but he always made people wary. Previously, when he was fighting with Cold Plum, although he didn't put Ling Xiao in his eyes, he didn't want his boss to fail miserably, because if his boss died, he wouldn't have a good life. You are indeed very strong. You are worthy of my sword. Ling Xiao touched his storage ring gently, and a golden crow sword appeared in his hand. It was as bright as the sun, glaring and special. When the surrounding air came into contact with the sword blade, it was burned until it was deformed. Take one of my moves first. Ling Xiao thrust his sword forward. It seemed ordinary and didn't use any moves. He just condensed some light profound. He wanted to test his opponent's strength. Ordinary attacks were easy to adapt to. Once a big move was used, it wouldn't be easy to withdraw it. Woo woo woo! The reddish-gold golden crow sword tore through the sky and the ground, forming a golden light that charged towards heavenly venerable earthly fire. Sizzle sizzle! The ground and air were emitting heat as if they were about to evaporate. The power is not bad, but it's not enough to deal with me. Heavenly venerable earthly fire sneered. A huge axe appeared in his hand, and it was burning with a reddish-white flame. Behind him, there was an ice-cold earth fire that was constantly rising. This guy's martial soul should be earth fire, which belonged to a type of ordinary flame that was stronger than ordinary flames, but weaker than sacred flames. Ding ding dang dang. The continuous exchange of blows unfolded in the ravine between the fifth circle. Their moves were endless, and the ground was constantly bombarded by white flames and golden light, creating deep craters. The surrounding area became full of potholes in an instant. Interesting. You can use the earth-fire martial spirit to create the feeling of the explosion. Profound meaning. It seems that you are not completely useless in martial arts. You still have some specialties. As Ling Xiao fought, he observed his opponent and gained a deeper understanding of heavenly venerate earthly fire. The more heavenly venerable earth fire fought Ling Xiao, the more astonished he became. Until now, he still didn't know what kind of martial soul Ling Xiao had. If they didn't know this, they wouldn't be able to target it. No, I must force him to reveal his martial spirit. Heavenly venerable earthly fire felt an immense threat as he prepared to intensify his attacks. Earthly fire, 9 heavens! He brandished the giant axe in his hand as the white flames burned even more fiercely. Then the giant axe furiously hacked out. The 9 attacks continued to bombard Ling Xiao, forming a tidal wave of earth fire and raging flames. Boom! 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 The flames were burning. The space was distorting. The ground was constantly cracking. The terrifying power of heavenly venerable earthly fire's attacks made cold plum sweat. At the very least, if it were her, she definitely wouldn't be a match for heavenly venerable earthly fire. Ling Xiao kept retreating, but he was able to block his opponent's attacks every time, preventing himself from being injured. Ha ha ha, interesting. As he fought and retreated, Ling Xiao could feel the damage caused by the terrifying energy that impacted his body. However, it was this damage that allowed him to constantly adapt to the combat power of his cultivation. This was the effect he wanted. Anyway, such a small injury would at most cause him to lose a few mouthfuls of blood. It wouldn't cause too much of a problem. The instant the 9 attacks ended, Ling Xiao grinned and said, "Heavenly venerable earthly fire, you have had enough fun with your attacks. Now it's my turn." He brandished the golden crow sword in his hand and actually condensed a crimson sun all that was 4 to 5 times larger than usual. He usually used the crimson sun all without using a sword. Today, when facing heavenly venerable earthly fire, he felt quite a bit of pressure. If he didn't use a sword, it would definitely be impossible. The crimson sun all was even larger. Naturally, its power was also greater. It was like a strangely shaped crimson sun was condensed. Go! The tip of the sword trembled as the crimson sun all instantly pierced through the air. In an instant, the entire space seemed to have turned golden as it was completely enveloped by the blazing heat. Heavenly venerable earthly fire even felt that he had been blinded at that moment. He couldn't see anything. He displayed 90% of his strength in fear as he ruthlessly hacked out with his giant axe. Earthly explosive strike. Boom! The giant axe collided with the crimson sun all, creating a loud sound that resembled an earthquake. Everyone in the underground factory was stunned for a moment. Heavenly venerable earthly fire spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated more than 10 steps. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, stood there steadily without moving. "Good lad, I have really underestimated you. You are really worthy of me going all out." Although heavenly venerable earthly fire spat out blood, he didn't suffer much damage. After all, he was an advanced stage Avalon of 5 elements practitioner. His body's defense was relatively strong. "You are not bad yourself. Your defense is stronger than I expected," Ling Xiao said indifferently. "Lad, you are really arrogant. Unfortunately, your arrogance won't last long." Earthly Fire /9 returned to Yang. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire's attack came again amidst his furious roar. This fellow's strength was really not a bluff. Previously there were only 9 attacks. This time, however, when he brandished his giant axe, there were 81 attacks. It was more concentrated than before. However, the power did not decrease in the slightest. The speed of every attack increased by a notch. If it were the leaders of the other 4 circles, they would have knelt down and begged for mercy, admitting defeat. However, Ling Xiao only laughed excitedly and said, "Come on!" Then he held the sword in his right hand, and the speed of the golden crow sword in his hand became faster and faster. Bang, bang, bang! The spectating practitioners could only see Ling Xiao's figure flickering amidst the attacks. Every time he flickered, a beautiful flower would bloom. Those flowers were naturally the flowers that exploded after collision. His speed and accuracy had reached the pinnacle. Ling Xiao did not seem to be blocking the attacks, but more like he was dancing gracefully. However, his dance was more graceful and free, and also more masculine. 81 attacks. Ling Xiao used a total of 81 swords to block them all. Although there were some small scratches on his body, he did not spit out any blood. He seemed to be more relaxed than when he blocked the 9 attacks. This was not because Ling Xiao's strength had increased. More importantly, it was because Ling Xiao was becoming more familiar with Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire. Chapter 953. Once he was familiar with the opponent, he would be able to find the opponent's weakness. Then he would be able to grasp it more accurately when defending. "You're pissing me off. I don't believe that I can't kill you. Xi and get lost. I can't guarantee your safety from this attack." It seemed like Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire was very confident in his attack. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let his right-hand man leave. Xia nodded and ran off into the distance. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire sneered and started to spin the axe in his hand. The speed became faster and faster, forming a terrifying flaming tornado. Earthly Fire / Explosive Fire! The power of this terrifying attack was almost at the peak of what Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire could release. Countless cultivators from the Avalon of 5 elements had died under this move. There was even an Avalon of 5 elements practitioner who was killed by this move. Not even his bones could be seen. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire's aptitude wasn't great, but he created this move at the risk of serious injuries. He wanted to kill his opponent when he couldn't. As long as he could kill his opponent, it didn't matter if he was injured. Rumble. The terrifying power covered a range of tens of meters. Everywhere it went, nothing was left. The ground cracked, and huge rocks were turned into dust. Ling Xiao threw Cold Plum out of the attack range and was surrounded by this terrifying attack. "Ha ha ha, you deserve it. Even if you don't die, you'll be seriously injured and on the verge of death under this attack. Now you know how powerful I am." Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire was very satisfied with the effect of his attack. If it weren't for the fact that he had no other choice, he wouldn't have used this move. In his opinion, the possibility of Ling Xiao being killed was higher, unless he had a defensive treasure on him, and it had to be an immortal grade treasure or above. Only then could he save his life, but no matter what, he would be injured, and he would definitely be seriously injured. Ling Xiao did have a defensive armor on him that had reached the level of an immortal grade treasure. It was a treasure that he had snatched from the sea race. He had modified it and embedded it with the heart of the ocean. But facing this attack, he didn't activate the armor's power, because there was no need. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire's attack was very powerful and could even break through his protective heavenly essence energy. However, they were helpless against his scarlet sun feather raiment. Not to mention that his body's defense was already ridiculously strong, which was now comparable to a divine-grade artifact. With the heavenly venerate, earthly fire strength, it was only possible to injure him with a divine-grade artifact. It was only a possibility. Boom! When the flaming storm dissipated, Ling Xiao stood there unscathed. TSK, TSK. As expected of heavenly venerate, earthly fire, this attack is indeed terrifying. It's a pity that my defense isn't that easy to break through. I've really disappointed you, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Impossible. Why aren't you injured? It shouldn't have happened. Heavenly Venerable Earth Fire was clearly frightened. He thought that his strongest attack had no effect on Ling Xiao's defense. That meant that he had already lost in front of Ling Xiao. What do you think? Ling Xiao shrugged his shoulders and deliberately moved his arms and legs. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire's attack had broken through his protective heavenly essence energy and hit the Scarlet Sun feather raiment. It had almost broken through the Scarlet Sun feather raiment. However, it didn't succeed in the end. He admired the power of Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire's attack. However, the final victor could only be him. Looks like my premonition came true. What kind of martial arts did this kid cultivate? He was actually unscathed when facing Boss's sure-kill attack. Xian couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He was extremely nervous. He was really glad that he was facing Cold Plum and not Ling Xiao. Otherwise, he would have been killed on the spot by this young man. He had followed Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire for more than 10 years and had seen many warriors challenge him. There were even managers who came to spar with Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire. However, no one had ever been able to suppress Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire to such an extent. The slaves in Circle 5 were also scared out of their wits. Under Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire's cruel rule, they were worse than livestock. They finally saw hope, but they didn't dare to shout. This was because they didn't dare to say that someone could defeat Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire until the very last moment. After all, Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire was too terrifying. It had been more than 50 years. Many people had already lost the courage to resist. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire, I'll give you one last chance. Follow me and destroy this underground factory. Then we'll escape together. Ling Xiao cherished talent. If it were any other time, he would have killed this guy. What a joke. My strongest point isn't my attack, but my defense. Although I can't break through your defense, don't even think about hurting me. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire wasn't willing to admit defeat. He was even more unwilling to be under Ling Xiao. You have wasted the best opportunity. Now let's end everything. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and pointed the golden crow sword at Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire. As the sword trembled, 2 rays of light, one black and one white, alternated. Do you know what the horror of death is? It's this: light, shadow, divine, all. It was the product of the combination of Crimson Sun all and Dark Shadow all. Furthermore, it was executed with the Golden Crow sword. It was so powerful that it made Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire tremble. Not good. Seeing the strange black and white all shooting over, Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire's hair stood on end. An aura of death spread out, causing him to feel extreme fear. No. After a blood-curdling scream, the light, shadow, divine all had already hit Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire. Boom! The sound of an explosion rang out. The effect of the attack wasn't as simple as a bloody hole. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire was blasted into pieces. He was blown away by the wind. Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire was dead with just one sword. Damn, this is my first time using it. I didn't expect this move to be so powerful. I have to be more careful in the future. Actually, Ling Xiao only wanted to use Heavenly Venerate Earthly Fire to test the power of his move. He also wanted to leave him with a complete corpse. Unfortunately, because the power of the move was too terrifying, It directly blasted Heavenly Venerate, Earthly Fire into pieces. Heavenly Venerate, Earthly Fire was an advanced stage practitioner of the Avalon of 5 elements. Even if his innate talent was lacking, his cultivation wasn't fake. Ling Xiao believed that if he used this move to attack Blood Skeleton, it would be difficult for him to escape death if he didn't have any special defensive techniques. The power of the Light Shadow Divine All after the fusion of the Crimson Sun All and the Dark Shadow All was so amazing. What would it feel like after the fusion of the Golden Crow Soaring Sun and the Void Shadow Crocodile? Ling Xiao revealed a thoughtful expression. He was rather interested. Boss has actually been killed. Xian stared blankly at the tattered clothes. He couldn't understand how a teenager who wasn't even 16 years old could launch such a terrifying attack. Chapter 954. Did this guy start cultivating when he was in his mother's womb? Xian Zhen was shocked by Ling Xiao's strength. Well done. Well done. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire is finally dead. We don't have to live in a nightmare anymore. Countless slaves cheered. Even some of Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire's subordinates were cheering. It was unknown what kind of life they used to live. Their boss was killed, yet they were so excited. It seemed like they weren't living happily. Cold Plum, go get the Heaven Essence crystal, Ling Xiao said to Cold Plum. Then he looked at the cheering crowd and shouted, "Are you satisfied?" What did he mean? The slaves looked at Ling Xiao in confusion. They didn't know what this young man was trying to say. Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire is dead, but there will be a second Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire. You will still have to suffer. Isn't that right? Ling Xiao continued. If you want to break free from despair, there is only one thing you can do. That is to escape from here. Escape? Impossible. How can we escape? That's right. Piping Island's caretakers are here. More importantly, there is a primordial array here. Even if we kill all the caretakers, we won't be able to escape. I have already cracked the primordial array. Otherwise, do you think I would be stupid enough to cause such a huge commotion? Ling Xiao sneered. Now what you need to do is to start a riot and kill all the caretakers here. Don't let them inform the Piping Island headquarters. That way, I can bring you out of here. Really? Can this kid be trusted? It shouldn't be fake. He is so strong that he even killed Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire. But is the primordial array so easy to crack? The group of slaves was still skeptical. You all know that the Heaven Essence crystal is not allowed here. Once it is used, the primordial array will activate and send the message to the caretakers, right? If Ling Xiao wanted to incite these people to riot, he had to let them see hope. Therefore, he took out a piece of Heaven Essence crystal and set up a simple array to refine the Heaven Essence crystal. The alarm that should have sounded did not ring. The slaves widened their eyes in disbelief. Don't be so surprised. To tell you the truth, when I first came here, my cultivation base was only at the pinnacle of one-line sky. The reason why I was able to advance to my current cultivation base is because I used a large number of heavenly origin crystals. Do you think I'm lying? Ling Xiao said with a smile. They're rebelling. That's right. I can't stay here and be treated like livestock for the rest of my life. Kill all the administrators. Escape from the crystal factory. Humans are like this. When there is no hope, they will be completely hopeless. They will be numb, just like the Walking Dead. But as long as there was hope, they would have a strong desire to fight. Xian also joined the frenzied riot. Because he didn't want to stay in this dark place. He also wanted to go out. In the past, he didn't have a choice. Now that he had a chance, he wouldn't choose to stay here. The riot finally began. There were people inciting the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth circles at the same time. A mighty riot had completely begun. Perhaps because the slaves couldn't escape due to the primordial formation. Although Piping Island had arranged guards and administrators here, their abilities were generally mediocre. The strongest were only warriors with Avalon of 5 elements cultivation base. It was just that all of them had special armor. It was a pity that the riot army had Ling Xiao, so their special armor wouldn't have any effect. After putting away the tens of thousands of heavenly origin crystals from heavenly venerable earthly fire, Ling Xiao and Cold Plum rushed to the administrator's control room. There, not only could he prevent the administrator from sending the news out, but he could also break the effect of the special armor. That lunatic! The warrior mixed in with the crowd with Shimin Bo. When he saw Ling Xiao actually inciting the riot, he was so scared that his whole body trembled. He didn't want to wallow in the mire with this lunatic. But now that the general trend was irresistible, he couldn't do anything. When he first met Ling Xiao, he thought that Ling Xiao was just a little rabbit that could be bullied. But as the incident continued to develop, Ling Xiao continued to display amazing abilities. Now he understood. How was this a little rabbit? This was a tiger disguised as a rabbit. Brother Shimin, what should we do? Should we go out with him? I don't want to stay in this godforsaken place forever. Kai Weiwei looked at Shimin Bo and said in fear, "Idiot, you'll only die if you follow him. Do you really think that Piping Island is easy to deal with? Also, do you dare to believe that kid's words? Do you really think that he has a way to break the formation here? Don't be ridiculous. He's just trying to incite people." Shimin Bo scolded, "But I feel that what he said is true." Kai Weiwei said hurriedly, "Do you believe me or him?" Shimin Bo snorted. "Of course I believe you, Brother Shimin." Kai Weiwei had no choice now. She offended Ling Xiao and felt that she couldn't get Ling Xiao's protection, so she could only follow Shimin Bo. "Since you believe me, then listen to me. Now go and report to the manager that Ling Xiao wants to rebel. Maybe we can make a contribution and become the boss here." Shimin Bo said coldly, "But the boss is also a slave." Kai Weiwei said with a frown, "What do you know? Wait until our cultivation breaks through to the Grotto Heaven realm. Then Piping Island will naturally be willing to accept us. That is equivalent to an empire-level force. If we join Piping Island, we can do whatever we want in the Divine Phoenix continent." Shimin Bo scolded, "But—" "No buts. Either you follow those idiots to die, or you follow me to find the manager. You choose." Shimin Bo roared, "I'll follow Brother Shimin. Let's go." At the same time, the crystal factory was rioting. At the exit of the factory, there was a building. This was where the manager and guards of Piping Island lived. Although the building was simple, the defense was good. At this time, there was a fierce argument going on in the management room. "Bastard, such a small thing, and you want to report it to the sect. When the time comes, we won't be able to bear the consequences." The one who spoke was the person in charge of the crystal factory, the Great Deacon here. "But, Great Deacon, the slaves in the 5 circles are all rioting. Moreover, they are coming aggressively. We have so few people, we can't stop them at all." The person who reported said anxiously, "Don't we still have those slave bosses? Usually we let them eat and drink until they are full. Could it be that they are not willing to help at the critical moment?" Reporting to Great Deacon, it's not that they are unwilling to help, but because they have all been killed, and they all died in the hands of the same person. Chapter 955. What? Hearing that Ling Xiao had killed 5 leaders of the slave circles, the deacon started to panic. Who could be so terrifying that he could take care of the leaders of the slave circles? What about heavenly venerable, earthly fire? That guy is at the late stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Even I am only slightly stronger than him. Is he dead? Heavenly venerable, earthly fire is dead too. He was blown to pieces by some unknown technique. Not even his corpse is left. Hearing this, the deacon's expression turned ugly. Warriors who could kill heavenly venerable, earthly fire were definitely not ordinary. Even he had to be careful when dealing with them. He wanted to call for reinforcements, but if he had to alarm the sect over such a small matter, he would lose his position as the deacon. Just as the great deacon was thinking about how to deal with this chaos, someone suddenly came to report, "Great deacon, it's not good. That man and woman are here." What? They are simply going too far. The deacon did not expect that this kid would dare to come to him directly after inciting the riot. Did he really think that he did not exist? Follow me. This kid is the main culprit of the riot. As long as we kill him, the others will not dare to act recklessly. The deacon's idea was correct, but unfortunately he did not weigh the pros and cons. When he left, 2 people were escorted over. "Deacon, these 2 people said that they were here to deliver a message. We have captured them." "What message?" "Deacon, the kid who incited the riot is called Ling Xiao. He is a disciple of the Yuehua school from the Sky Dragon continent. He is not worth mentioning. We know his purpose and hope that you will let us join Piping Island." The informants were naturally Shimin Bo and Kai Weiwei. So he is a human from the Sky Dragon continent. No wonder. The sacred dynasty has ruled the mystic world for too long. Humans are used to being arrogant. The deacon sneered and said, "Tell me quickly. What is his purpose? If you tell me, I will spare your lives. Otherwise, I will feed you to the dogs." "But deacon, Shimin Bo was unwilling to accept this. What he wanted was the official status of a disciple of Piping Island, not just his life. "You talk too much nonsense. Take that woman away. Her looks are not bad. Maybe she can become the top hostess of Piping Island's Red House. As for this brat, chop him up and feed him to the dogs." How could the great deacon have the time to talk nonsense with Shimin Bo? He was completely unreasonable. I'll talk. Please, great deacon, let us go." At this time, Shimin Bo was really panicking. He hurriedly explained in detail. "Ling Zhao's goal is to block the exit so that you can't inform Piping Island. So that's how it is. Since you've spoken the truth, I'll leave your corpses intact." The great deacon casually sent out a palm strike, and a black palm print appeared on Shimin Bo's forehead. Shimin Bo then fell to the ground, his expression still filled with fear and unwillingness. If he had followed Ling Xiao with his strength, he would have had no problem keeping his life. However, he chose to come to Piping Island to inform them, but the ending was so tragic. "Lock that woman in the cage first, and send her to Red House with the rest of the women." The great deacon glanced at Kai Weiwei. After giving the order, he soared into the sky and rushed out. The experts behind him also followed one after another. When they were about to reach the exit, the great deacon was surprised to find that not only was the terrain destroyed, but even the formation at the entrance was changed. Unless one was a formation expert, it was impossible to get out. Good boy, he really doesn't put our Piping Island in his eyes. Does he want to wrap us up like dumplings? Seeing this scene, the great deacon was a little shocked in his heart. Ling Zhao's strength was beyond his expectation. The key point was that not only was this guy's martial strength high, but he also knew about formations. Which idiot let this kind of person in? This was simply throwing a huge worm into his body. Great deacon, why do you care? In the past few hundred years, there have been more than 10 riots in the Crystal Stone factory. Moreover, people who challenged our Piping Island are not uncommon. However, in the end, all of them ended miserably. This person will not have a good ending. The warrior next to him said disdainfully, "Idiot! Even a lion will use its full strength to catch a rabbit. Don't underestimate this man and woman. Yes, there have been many riots in the past few hundred years. However, there has never been a person who could defeat the leaders of the 5 circles at the same time. They are the only one. Even so, you still dare to underestimate them?" The great deacon scolded. "This subordinate knows his mistake. We will definitely do our best. We will definitely not hold back." "That's more like it." The great deacon took a deep breath. This might be the most difficult battle since he became the great deacon here. However, they must win. Otherwise, they would not even be able to ask for reinforcements. Then they would all die here. After the exit was sealed and the formation connected to the special armor was removed, the riot in the Crystal Stone Factory became even more intense. Although the slaves were thin, the resentment in their hearts was too great. With today's opportunity to vent, they could not wait to use all the strength in their bodies. They vowed to fight to the death with Piping Island. Furthermore, seeing that the manager's armor had lost its effect, they became even more confident. They felt that they would definitely be able to get out if they followed Ling Xiao. Even if it was not for Ling Xiao, they had to fight for themselves. Under such circumstances, the managers of Piping Island were retreating step by step. They had no choice. They had fewer people and did not have much of an advantage in terms of strength. Originally, they had relied on the special armor. Now that the armor had lost its effect, they were no different from the slaves. If this battle continued on like this, it would definitely end with them being completely annihilated. The great deacon did not have the time to care about the lives of these people. All his thoughts were now on Ling Xiao. As long as he killed Ling Xiao, he could change the situation. This was his idea. Ling Xiao also saw the great deacon and the experts beside him and could not help but smile. Cold Plum, don't bother about those bastards. Let the slaves deal with them. Our opponents are coming. These fellows don't look weak. All 5 of them are actually at the Avalon of 5 elements. 4 of them are at the early stage and 1 is at the peak. How do we deal with them? Cold Plum asked. Simple. Let me deal with the peak Avalon of 5 elements. As for the other 4, I'll give 1 to Xan and you deal with 1. The remaining 2 will be handed over to Meng Tong. He is Qin Hui's deputy and has reached the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements. He has been holding back all this while waiting for this opportunity. Ling Xiao laughed. Master, you are so calculating. Actually, it doesn't matter even if you don't have these calculations. We have more people than them, and there are many 4 symbols heaven experts among the slaves. You have to know that ants can kill an elephant with enough numbers. No matter what, we will definitely win this time. Ling Xiao said faintly, Of course, unless I am killed. But that is obviously impossible. Chapter 956. Brat, you're Ling Xiao. The great deacon and the other 4 experts from the Avalon of 5 elements came before Ling Xiao and Cold Plum and shouted, I'm Ling Xiao. You're from Piping Island? Ling Xiao asked back. The great deacon said coldly, Since you know we're from Piping Island, why don't you surrender? Are you waiting for us to attack? Surrender without a fight? What an arrogant tone. It seems like you haven't figured out the situation yet. Without external support, you have no way to survive. If you're obedient, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for not reminding you if you're killed by the enraged slaves. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Brat, you're really arrogant. Do you really think that you can overthrow our Piping Island's rule with just your motley crew? As long as we kill you, they'll naturally be defeated. The great deacon said again. Yes, you're right. But the problem is, which one of you can do anything to me? Not to mention, all of you have gone against the law and are utterly devoid of conscience. Even death can't wipe out your crimes. Today, you can be considered to have received your retribution. Ling Xiao said faintly. Ha ha ha, only idiots believe in reaping what you sow. You should know that the law of the mysterious world is the strong preys on the weak. The great deacon laughed loudly. So, you also know about the law of the jungle. Since that's the case, why are we still talking nonsense? You want to kill me, and I want to kill you too. Let's see who's the real deal. Whatever ** to reason, it's all just excuses. Ling Xiao said disdainfully. Good brat, it seems like you are a sensible person. Unfortunately, understanding is one thing, but you are extremely stupid in this matter. You really shouldn't have provoked our Piping Island. This will cause you to die without knowing why. The great deacon sneered and waved his hand. All of you go. Don't care about the righteousness of the Jianghu. Kill that Ling Shao with all your might. Ignore the others for now." At his command, dozens of Four Symbols celestial practitioners pounced on Ling Shao, while the Avalon of Five Elements practitioners hid in the crowd, waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Since they knew how powerful Ling Shao was, they definitely wouldn't give Ling Shao a chance to fight head-on. If they could sneak attack, they would try their best to do so. A motley crew. You're all dead. Scram! Golden Crow, Rising Sun. Ling Shao coldly snorted and shook the golden crow sword in his hand. A huge golden crow descended from the sky and rushed into the crowd. The raging fire was boiling. Rumbling sounds could be heard. Screams rang out one after another. Facing Ling Xiao's attack, dozens of Four Symbols celestial realm cultivators actually did not put up any resistance and were all sent flying. Those who were unlucky were burned to ashes on the spot. Those who were slightly luckier still had their corpses intact. Those with the worst luck were probably those who were half dead and could only let out miserable screams. Cold Plum, Meng Tong, and Xian also took action at this time. They were full of admiration for Ling Xiao's bravery and naturally wanted to show off their own abilities. The three of them were up against 4 practitioners from the Avalon of Five Elements, and the battle was extremely intense. Grand Deacon, it's better if you don't send your men to their deaths. It's meaningless. If you really want to capture me, then do it yourself. Ling Shao looked at the Grand Deacon calmly and said, "Anyway, the slave army had the absolute advantage now, and the news couldn't be sent out. He could totally spend some time here." This Grand Deacon seemed to have a higher cultivation level than Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire and was slightly stronger as well. He should be a more suitable sparring partner. The rest of you, step back and take care of those slaves. Leave this brat to me. The Grand Deacon could also see that Four Symbols celestial realm cultivators couldn't do anything to Ling Shao. There were only 4 Avalon of Five Elements practitioners, and they were all stopped by Ling Xiao's subordinates. As such, he could only take action himself. A 2-handed long saber appeared in his hand. With a furious roar, the Grand Deacon brandished both sabers and directly slashed at Ling Shao across the air. The ferocious saber chi was released in a frenzy. It seemed as if it was going to split the sky into 2 halves. Immortal grade treasure? No, there should be a special formation on it. Ling Shao opened his Eye of the World and began to analyze the opponent's attack. He didn't rashly attack, but chose to retreat instead. The golden crow sword in his hand was placed horizontally in front of him, ready to defend at any time. Clang! Amidst the sound of metal clashing, Ling Shao felt his chi and blood churning. The Grand Deacon's strength was indeed more valiant than Heavenly Venerable Earthly Fire. More importantly, the saber in his hand wasn't ordinary either. Just as Ling Shao heaved a sigh of relief and was about to counterattack, he suddenly saw a strange inscription on the saber body emitting a golden light. Phoenix Shadow Flash Strike. The attack released by the inscription actually presented a saber aura that resembled a phoenix's wings. As the distance was too close, Ling Shao couldn't avoid it. Fortunately, he still had the ability to wield both weapons. His left palm struck out, and a strong wind bombarded the phoenix's wings. It slowed down the speed and allowed him to avoid the attack. However, he had no choice but to retreat a few steps. Great! The Grand Deacon is indeed the Grand Deacon. That brat can't hold on any longer. As long as we kill him, the riot will naturally subside. Piping Island's side was actually very nervous. If the Grand Deacon lost to Ling Shao, it would be difficult for them to escape death. Now that they saw the Grand Deacon suppressing Ling Shao, they were wild with joy. I already said that the brat couldn't possibly be the Grand Deacon's match. Don't forget that the Grand Deacon's cultivation is already at the peak of the Avalon of Five Elements. The brat's current cultivation is only at the peak of the 3 talents heaven. That's right. The Grand Deacon's cultivation is stronger than the brat's. Furthermore, the phoenix feather saber in his hand has been strengthened by our array master. Warriors of the same cultivation are no match for the Grand Deacon, let alone the brat. Is it really a weapon that has been strengthened by an array? Although Ling Xiao was in the middle of a battle, he wasn't under much pressure. The scene just now seemed dangerous, but in fact, it wasn't a threat to him. This was because even if the Grand Deacon had really slashed his body with the saber, it wouldn't have caused any substantial damage. He had also thought of using an array to strengthen a weapon and had tried it before. However, he hadn't been able to find a suitable array blueprint, so he hadn't been able to do it. Now that he saw the phoenix feather saber, he was suddenly tempted. Although he didn't need it, he could seize it and study it to see if it could be used to strengthen his weapon. Brat, it's time for you to die. Just as Ling Xiao was thinking about this problem, the Grand Deacon's attack didn't stop. The Grand Deacon once again brandished the saber in his hand and slashed at Ling Xiao. Every move was ruthless. Every slash was fatal. I haven't lived long enough. Why should I die? Is it because you have a broken saber that isn't even as good as a divine treasure? Ling Xiao was somewhat disdainful. Chapter 9:57. Although a celestial-grade artifact with an array was much stronger than an ordinary celestial-grade artifact, it was still inferior to a divine-grade artifact. His body's defense had already reached the level of a divine-grade artifact. How could he be afraid of an attack from a mere celestial-grade artifact? Moreover, other than his cultivation, his opponent was not stronger than him in any other aspect. How could he pose a threat to him? You will die even if you don't want to. The Grand Deacon's saber moved faster and faster, and Ling Xiao kept retreating. Is that so? Do you really think you're all that after I let you make 2 moves? Shadow all. Suddenly, Ling Xiao stabbed out with his sword as he retreated. The shadow all, which was hard to see with the naked eye, pierced through the air. At first, the Grand Deacon did not notice anything wrong at all. It was only when the shadow all was less than 1 meter away from him that he realized something was wrong. Phoenix feather armor. In a panic, the Grand Deacon used his life-saving magic treasure. It was a celestial-grade armor that was also supported by an array. Bang! The shadow all hit the phoenix feather armor and was completely blocked. However, the Grand Deacon was sent flying more than 10 meters away by the terrifying impact. Brat, you used this move to kill those slave bosses, right? You are indeed sinister. If I was not wearing the phoenix feather armor, I would have been injured by you. The Grand Deacon was really frightened by the near-death experience, so he did not dare to continue approaching. Instead, he gathered all his heavenly origin energy into his saber from afar, trying to kill Ling Xiao with 1 strike. Phoenix feather ultimate kill. With a roar, the saber chi covered Ling Xiao with an earth-shattering aura. The surrounding martial artists could not help but retreat, fearing that they would be affected by this terrifying attack. Divine all of light and shadow! Ling Xiao sneered. The golden crow sword in his hand flashed with black and white light, forming a terrifying all of light that pierced through the void in front of him. Boom! The terrifying divine all of light and shadow shattered the Grand Deacon's attack. Then, without losing any momentum, it pierced a large hole in the Grand Deacon's body before exploding. Although the Grand Deacon wasn't completely obliterated, like heavenly venerate, earthly fire, his corpse was still incomplete. Even a zenith heaven immortal wouldn't be able to revive him. After putting away the golden crow sword, Ling Xiao sneered and said loudly, "Listen up, I've already killed the manager of the crystal factory. You don't need to be afraid anymore. Destroy the factory and get ready to escape. Kill, 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 kill." These words were a huge boost to the morale of the troops. The Great Deacon was the strongest martial artist in this crystal stone factory, and even he was killed by Ling Xiao. Who else could be a match for Ling Xiao? As their morale wavered, their combat prowess would naturally change as well. Cold Plum, Meng Tong, and Xian finished off their opponents one after another and returned to Ling Zhao's side. Meng Tong, lead your men and follow me. Xian, you follow me too. As long as you're loyal, I'll let bygones be bygones. After Ling Zhao killed the Grand Deacon, Cold Plum and the rest finished off the remaining martial artists of the Avalon of 5 elements. The battle in the crystal factory was basically left to the slaves to clean up. What he needed to do next was to find the place where the Heaven Origin crystals were stored on Piping Island. Since he was going to leave, how could he not make a huge profit? Xian is willing to follow Master and never leave. It's one thing to say nice things, but it's another. Time will reveal a person's heart. You'd better not make me attack you. If that happens, it won't look good for either of us. Ling Zhao took a look at Xian and didn't say anything else. Instead, he leaped forward. That was where the caretakers lived. If there really was a place where the Heaven Origin crystals were stored, it would definitely be there. It should be there. With the eye of the world, Ling Zhao was definitely an expert at finding things. In a short while, he found the place where the Heaven Origin crystals were stored. There should be quite a lot. Ling Zhao raised his hand and blasted the heavy iron door open with just the strength of his physical body. After all, he had already broken the magic array here. The rest of the matter would be left to his strength. The moment the iron door was broken open, rays of light shot out in all directions. This place actually stored a large amount of Heaven Origin crystals. They were all neatly stacked there and clearly marked with the quantity. We only got a total of about 10,000 Heaven Origin crystals from the slave bosses. Even if we include the Grand Deacon, it's only about 20,000 pieces. I didn't expect there to be more than 200,000 pieces here. No wonder people say that Piping Island is ruthless. This is really ruthless. Cold Plum was speechless. She was dumbstruck by the terrifying amount. Ling Zhao smiled slightly and said, "Who cares if they're ruthless or not? In any case, we're benefiting now." Finished speaking, he casually waved his hand and threw all the Heaven Origin crystals into the mountain river world. With these 200,000 low-grade Heaven Origin crystals, he could cultivate properly for a period of time after returning to Divine Phoenix Empire's Imperial City. Catching up to the 10 Great Phoenixes was not an impossible thing. All right, we've plundered everything clean. It's enough to make those guys from Piping Island feel heartache for a while. Let's go. Ling Zhao took the Heaven Origin crystals and achieved his goal. He prepared to leave. He was not afraid that something would happen to Qinhua. Qinhua was a 10 Directions Heaven martial artist. Even if he came to Piping Island, no one would take the initiative to provoke him. After leaving, he would think of a way to contact Qinhua. Right at this moment, the entire crystal factory suddenly shook violently. Then, a golden light appeared in the center of the factory. This golden light quickly transformed into a human figure. It was actually a young man wearing a golden crown and a python robe. Looking at his age, he was estimated to be around 30 to 40 years old. He was much older than Ling Zhao, but younger than the majority of martial artists. Perhaps because this human figure was too big, when that imposing aura was released, it actually made many slaves who were in the middle of battle kneel down one after another. Young Island Master! Spare US, Young Island Master. We didn't do it on purpose. Someone instigated us. That's why we muddle-headedly started the riot. We won't dare to do it again. Please spare us. A bunch of idiots daring to start a riot. If this young master doesn't punish you severely, how can I face the disciples of Piping Island who died? That human figure of light roared. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. It actually made many slave martial artists tremble in fear and panic. Pretending to be mysterious, a mere soul body actually dares to put on airs here. Ling Zhao appeared in front of the human figure of light and sneered. Not to mention you're just a soul body. Even if your young island master is here today, what can he do to me? Bastard, you dare to rob our piping island of heaven origin crystals and destroy our crystal factory. You will definitely regret it. The human figure of light roared. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. This place that harms people should be destroyed as soon as possible. Ling Xiao suddenly sneered and began to condense heaven origin energy. Chapter 958. Ling Xiao sneered. He condensed a light shadow divine all and smashed it towards the center of the immemorial formation. Although this immemorial formation was powerful, it relied on the special terrain here to activate its effect. Ling Xiao couldn't destroy the formation, but he could completely change the terrain here. This way, the immemorial formation would completely lose its effect. This was easy to say, but it was very difficult to do, because for most cultivators, the difficult thing was not to destroy, but to find. Apart from Ling Xiao, there was probably no other person in the world who could find the core topography of the primordial formation. After all, Ling Xiao was the only one who had the mountain river martial spirit. Rumble! A huge explosion sounded again. The terrain of the crystal factory completely changed. In order to prevent Piping Island from restoring the terrain here, Ling Xiao even took out the immortal gourd and took away the soul of this terrain. According to the laws of the mystic world, everything had a soul. It was just that some souls often existed outside, and some souls were always in deep sleep and couldn't be detected. However, these souls played a very important role at all times. A land without souls was a land of death. It could never be restored. Bastard, I, Chu Mu, will not let you go, definitely. No matter where you run, it's useless. The human-shaped light pillar roared again. Hee, I'm already tired of hearing these words. I don't know when it started, but it seems that many people like to use these words to scare me. Do they really think that I, Ling Xiao, can be scared? Ling Xiao smiled and said, when the real Chu Mu comes, help me tell him that if he wants to find me, I'll accompany him at any time. However, I don't know if he has the ability. After speaking, he no longer paid attention to the human-shaped light pillar. He brought Cold Plum and the others to break the formation and left the crystal factory. As for the slaves, in any case, the formation had been broken. If they wanted to leave, they could leave. If they didn't dare to leave because they were afraid of revenge, then Ling Xiao couldn't help them. Ling Xiao and the others returned to the shore along the original path. They didn't expect that the ship that had tricked them was still docked there. What was even more unexpected was that all the crew members on the ship, including the captain, were controlled by Qin Hua. After Qin Hua went ashore and could not sense Ling Xiao's aura, he knew that something was wrong. Thus, he found an opportunity to return and take control of the ship. He had been waiting here for almost a month. Fortunately, this place was well hidden. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the people of Piping Island found them. General, brothers, thank you for your hard work. All right, General Qin, now is not the time to talk. Turn the ship around. Let's return to the Divine Phoenix continent. If Piping Island discovers that something happened to the crystal factory, then we will really have to bear the consequences. Ling Xiao estimated that it wouldn't be long before the riot at the crystal factory was discovered. Therefore, they had to hurry back to the Divine Phoenix continent before that happened. As long as they reached the Divine Phoenix continent, they wouldn't have to worry even if the situation here turned upside down. In fact, his worries were not unfounded. After about an hour, Piping Island sensed the situation at the crystal factory. After figuring out everything, another hour had passed. Ling Xiao's ship had already arrived at the Divine Phoenix continent. Then, the group of people rushed towards the imperial city. At this time, there was already no meaning for Piping Island's experts to chase after them. On the surface of the sea, a ship was speeding up. Standing at the bow of the ship was Piping Island's young island master, Chu Mu. Ling Xiao, just you wait. Even if you return to the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial city, This young master will still collect this debt. 200,000 heaven essence crystals. How long would it take to gather all of them? Ling Xiao actually took all of them away in one go. Moreover, if you took it away, then take it away. You actually destroyed the crystal factory. This made Piping Island unable to tolerate. Chu Mu also swore that he would definitely kill Ling Xiao. Otherwise, it would really be hard to dispel the hatred in his heart. Outside the imperial city, Ling Xiao spent money to buy a residence. This place was very secluded, and the environment was also not bad. As long as some formations were set up, it could become a cultivation ground that was not inferior to many other places. He arranged for Qin Hua, Xian, and those 300 soldiers to stay here. I only have one sentence. I let you eat and drink for free, not for you to enjoy. Now that you eat and drink my food, in the future, you'll have to throw your heads down for me and shed your blood. Before leaving, Ling Xiao decided to say the ugly words up front. I am determined to rebuild the glory of humanity and rebuild the human empire. If you are willing to follow me, then cultivate here with all your might. I will not be stingy with all kinds of resources and martial arts. If you are unwilling or feel that the days are too boring, then you can leave now. I will not stop you, but you only have this one chance to choose. If you choose now, whether you want to leave or return in the future, it is not very possible. If you attempt to leave in the future, it will be regarded as betrayal and will be killed without mercy. If you attempt to return, you must complete the trial I give you. It will definitely be a narrow escape. Speaking until here, Ling Xiao looked around at everyone, waiting for someone to express their opinion. We are willing to pledge our lives to follow the chosen one. Their voices were orderly and loud. This was not surprising. After all, among these people, other than Xian, the rest were all soldiers. Soldiers were afraid of hardship? Unless they were trash who did not know how to fight normally. And the people led by Qin who were naturally not trash. Someone provided them with cultivation resources and a place to cultivate. How could they not cultivate properly? After experiencing the pain of their country being destroyed, they were very clear what strength meant. Without strength, they would be beaten, bullied, humiliated, and stepped on. They would even be treated like livestock. Good. I have heard your answer. I hope you do not regret it. When you are in pain, when you are tired, take a good look at yourself in the mirror. Look at the tattoos on your face. That is a disgrace. If you do not want to experience the same disgrace again, then cultivate to the point of death. After saying these stirring words, Ling Xiao directly threw 100,000 low-grade heaven essence crystals and a large number of copies of martial arts manuals to Qin Hua. You can distribute these things. In short, the words I gave you only have one meaning. As long as you are not dead, cultivate with all your might. Don't find any excuses. I am not giving you resources because I owe you. I want you to risk your lives on the battlefield. This general obeys. Qin was solemnly received the storage ring. His hands were trembling. This gift that Ling Xiao gave was too great. If they could not cultivate with all their might, then they would be worse than pigs and dogs. Cold Plum, let's go. Ling Xiao turned and left this secret place. Whether he could achieve great things in the future or not, this would be the beginning of everything. Although the Heaven's Chosen Academy was also considered his faction, they were all martial artists after all. They were different from soldiers. Everyone here was a soldier. They were true soldiers who would obey orders. Chapter 959. After leaving, Ling Xiao did not return to Qingshu College directly. Instead, he went to the Heaven Essence Pagoda. There were only 5 days left before the life and death battle with the Blood Skull. He planned to use these few days to break through to 4 divisions heaven. As a matter of fact, he didn't care about the Blood Skull at all. After all, the Blood Skull was just an insignificant stumbling block in his path. What he wanted to accomplish was too grand and too important. The enemies he was about to face were also very strong. Even though he was at the pinnacle of the 3 talents heaven, he still had a long way to go. Compared to the 10 great phoenixes, he was not even worth mentioning. After returning from the divine phoenix auction house, if he had not joined forces with Qinhua, he would not have been able to successfully kill the expert who was chasing him. He could not always rely on others to protect him. Therefore, increasing his own strength was the most important thing. It was still the same saying that this world spoke with one's fists. The harder your fist is, the more people will trust you, and the more people will follow you. If Ling Xiao hadn't caused such a ruckus in the crystal factory on Piping Island, would the 300 warriors under Qinhua's command have followed him so wholeheartedly? No. The title of Heaven's chosen son was just an empty title. In the end, it still depended on one's strength. The last time Ling Xiao entered the 3rd level of the Heaven Essence Pagoda, he went straight to the 5th level with a huge increase in his cultivation level. The 5th level was basically where the practitioners of the Avalon of 5 elements trained. Cold Plum was at the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Although Ling Xiao was at the pinnacle of the 3 talents heaven, his fighting strength had already surpassed that of an ordinary pinnacle of the Avalon of 5 elements. The fact that he could easily kill the great deacon of the crystal factory was an example. Halt! When the 2 of them reached the 5th level, they were stopped by the guard. What's the matter? Ling Xiao frowned and asked. She is not a disciple of the Phoenix Academy or Qingshu College. She is not allowed to train in the Heaven Essence Pagoda. The guard replied. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Why haven't I seen such a rule? Previously, he had indeed heard someone say that this Heavenly Essence Pagoda only allowed the disciples of Phoenix, Academy, and Qingshu College to cultivate. However, he had inquired about it before. In fact, there was no such rule in the Heavenly Essence Pagoda. In other words, this was simply a false rumor. There isn't such a rule, but this has already become a tradition. You can't break it. The guard said coldly, I haven't asked yet. Who are you? Ling Xiao looked at the guard in bewilderment. I'm a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. I'm responsible for guarding the 5th floor. Like I said, how could there be guards without such rules? Move aside. I won't make things difficult for you. Ling Xiao didn't want to cause any trouble. Even if the other party was a disciple of the Phoenix Academy, he didn't want to cause any trouble. Right now, he only wanted to cultivate. Impossible, the guard said righteously. I told you to get lost. Ling Xiao frowned. His massacre sword intent rushed towards the other party as if it was real. The guard's forehead was instantly covered in cold sweat. He hurriedly dodged to the side and said, Ling Xiao, I know you're powerful. However, you'll definitely regret doing this. This rule is tacitly agreed upon by both Qingshu College and Phoenix Academy. If you break it, you'll be breaking the tacit agreement between the 2 academies. What happened? At this moment, a man and woman walked up from below. When they saw the situation, they couldn't help but ask. The man was wearing the Phoenix Academy's uniform. Although the woman was dressed extravagantly, she wasn't wearing a uniform. She probably wasn't a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. Senior Kuo, this person intends to break the rules. He brought a disciple who doesn't belong to the 2 academies into the Heavenly Essence Pagoda to cultivate. The guard seemed to have seen reinforcements and hurried forward to report. Then why are you still talking to him? Just chase him away. Kalong looked at Ling Xiao with disdain and then continued. By the way, this is my master's cousin from Piping Island. She wants to come to the Heavenly Essence Pagoda to have some fun. Are there any single rooms on the 5th floor? Don't worry, Senior Ko. The single rooms on the 5th floor are prepared for you. As long as it's you, no matter who you bring, you can come and go as you wish. The guard's attitude towards Ling Xiao changed. He suddenly became like a pug as he giggled. Here's your reward. Kalong casually threw 10 low-grade spiritual stones to the guard and said, "We'll go up first. Hurry up and chase this Qingshu College trash away. Don't disturb my mood." "Yes, yes, yes. Senior Ku, please." The guard bowed respectfully and made way for him. "Let's go." Ling Xiao sneered. He grabbed Cold Plum's hand and went up to the 5th floor first. "Kid, stop right there." Just as they were about to enter the single rooms on the 5th floor, Kalong shouted. The woman beside him twisted her snake-like waist and shook Kalong's arm as she said, "Big brother Kalong, didn't you say that no one on the 5th floor would dare to disobey you? Why is this person not giving you any face? A seductress?" Ling Xiao only took one look at the woman and came to this conclusion. In terms of appearance, this woman was quite different from Cold Plum. However, her figure was quite hot. Coupled with her innately seductive voice, it wasn't an exaggeration to call her a seductress. That voice would probably make any ordinary man's body go numb and their blood boil. Ling Xiao had seen many women, and he had even seen such seductive women before. Therefore, he had never had a good impression of such women. "What's the matter?" Ling Xiao looked back at Kalong and asked, "Kid, the remaining 2 single rooms on the 5th floor have been reserved by me. Hurry up and scram." Perhaps he had been instigated by the woman beside him, but Kalong acted even more overbearing and rude. His tone was filled with a strong sense of bossiness. Perhaps to him, chasing away Ling Xiao and Cold Plum was as simple as chasing away 2 flies. He definitely couldn't embarrass himself in front of his cousin. You reserved them? Who did you reserve them for? How much did you pay as a deposit?" Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Kulong became even more unsettled when he heard this. A cold glint appeared in his eyes. "Kid, it's already against the rules for you to bring outsiders to the Heaven Essence Treasure Pagoda. Now you want to snatch a single room from me? Are you tired of living? It's against the rules for me to bring outsiders. What about you?" Ling Xiao pointed at the woman beside Kalong and asked, "Who do you think I am? Who do you think you are? Since when can a mere human like you be compared to the divine Phoenix tribe? Furthermore, I am a noble of the Peacock tribe. Even if I brought a team of people here, it wouldn't be considered breaking the rules." Kalong said disdainfully. Ling Xiao said indifferently, "In other words, only the officials are allowed to set fires and not the common people. Then what's the point of having such rules? It's better to just break them." "Brother Kalong, this fellow said that I'm an outsider. Hurry up and teach him a lesson to show off your power." The woman started to instigate Kalong again. Chapter 960. Once again, the woman used her seductive technique and coiled around Kalong's body like a water snake. When she spoke, her mouth was directly in front of Kalong's ear. Kalong felt as if there was a ball of fire burning in his dantian. When the guard saw this scene, his mouth went dry and his body seemed to be filled with energy. He was, after all, a practitioner of the Avalon of 5 elements. Even though he was only at the initial stage, he was actually scared to the point that his legs turned to jelly in front of a practitioner at the pinnacle of the 3 talents heaven stage. At this moment, he was so mesmerized by the woman's seductive posture that he seemed to have forgotten what fear was. "I've long heard that young Master Kalong's cousin is extremely flirtatious. Now that I've seen her today, she's indeed extraordinary. If I can defeat that Ling Xiao on the spot, I might be able to get close to her. I might even be able to taste her exquisite body on that soft bed." The guard swallowed his saliva and said loudly, "Young Master Kalong, Miss Lin, you don't have to do anything to deal with this kind of brat. Just leave it to me." Ling Xiao stood there, and when he saw the sudden burst of intense fighting spirit from the guard, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. A guy who thinks with the lower half of his body. Just a few words from that woman, and he actually completely forgot his earlier fear. He was using his life to curry favor with a beauty. Can you do it? Even though this Ling Xiao is just a useless human who doesn't know what's good for him and will die at the hands of the blood skull sooner or later. Your performance just now wasn't very good." Kulong said with a smile, although these words were directed at the guard, who was actually mocking Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was definitely a famous person in the imperial city now. However, his reputation wasn't very good. When people talked about him, they would say things like, "That reckless fellow, pitiful wretch, the useless human who is destined to be killed by the blood skull," and so on. Most people didn't think that Ling Xiao would win. Even though Ling Xiao's friends wouldn't say such nasty things, they still felt that Ling Xiao's rash decision to accept the challenge from the blood skull was too impulsive. The guard cupped his hands and said, "Young Master Kulong, don't worry. This lowly human who doesn't know the rules isn't worth mentioning. I was careless just now and allowed him to take advantage of the loophole." Acting recklessly? Didn't know the rules? Useless human? Lowly human? The two of them really dared to speak. In order to show off in front of that seductive woman, they really used all kinds of malicious names. Chu Lin covered her mouth and smiled. "Brother Ku, Brother Ku." After she finished speaking, she deliberately threw a flirtatious glance at the guard. This coquettish glance completely made the guard lose his mind, and his entire person was immersed in excessive reverie. She was indeed a slut. He might really be able to get his hands on her. The guard's heart began to beat more and more violently. It was as if a rabbit had been thrown into his heart. "All right, since Sister Lin said so, you deal with that kid. I'll take care of that woman." Kulong licked his lips and revealed a wicked smile. He had actually had his eyes on Cold Plum for a long time. Whether it was in terms of beauty or temperament, Cold Plum was superior to Chu Lin. Of course, she wasn't as flirtatious as Chu Lin, so it could only be said that each had their own merits. Kulong liked women. He liked all kinds of women. Like many young masters of noble families, he also had the habit of collecting all kinds of beauties. If he could get such a top-grade woman by his side, he would have a lot of face when he went out in the future. "Cold Plum, you go in and cultivate first. Leave this to me." Ling Xiao didn't want Cold Plum to become the center of attention. Anyway, he already had enough troubles. He didn't care about adding one more. No. Cold Plum shook her head and refused to leave. "You don't trust me?" Ling Xiao asked faintly. "I don't dare." "Since you don't dare, go in and cultivate obediently. My cultivation is almost catching up to yours. You can't stay stagnant." Ling Xiao patted Cold Plum's shoulder and laughed. "All right, I'll do as you say." Thinking about Ling Xiao's performance in the crystal factory, Cold Plum couldn't help but shake her head and laugh bitterly. Yes, Ling Xiao could easily defeat the great deacon of the Avalon of 5 elements. The 3 people in front of her were only at the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. What was there to be afraid of? "That's good." Ling Xiao touched Cold Plum's face and seemed to dote on her. To him, Cold Plum was really like a sister, but in the eyes of the guard and Kulong, they were gnashing their teeth in hatred. The guard felt that Ling Xiao was looking down on him. He knew that he was going to attack, but he still flirted with the woman beside him. As for Kulong, he was jealous that Ling Xiao had such a good relationship with Cold Plum. Why would such a cold and arrogant woman be so obedient to this trash? "Kid, show me your weapon. Otherwise, people will say that I bullied you." The guard shouted loudly. In order to show off his heroic spirit, he felt that it was better to defeat Ling Xiao fair and square. Ling Xiao stood there and couldn't help but laugh. "Are you sure you want to attack me? It's hard to leave my subordinates alive, especially the practitioners of Phoenix Academy. Shameless boasting. If you can kill me, pigs will be able to climb trees." The guard said disdainfully. Perhaps Chu Lin made him lose his mind, but the guard had forgotten the fear that Ling Xiao brought to him. "If that's the case, make your move." Ling Xiao gestured with his finger. He didn't want to make the first move. lest the Phoenix Academy use this as an excuse to find trouble with him. Not only did he have to be stronger than his opponent, but he also had to be more reasonable. "You're courting death." A long spear appeared in the guard's hand, and he stabbed it at Ling Xiao. The moves of an early-stage practitioner of the Avalon of 5 elements were indeed magnificent. His attack power wasn't weak either, but it was much weaker than that of heavenly venerable earthly fire, let alone the great deacon. This guard's cultivation level was similar to that of the blood skeleton, but his aura and fighting power were too weak. They weren't even on the same level. "I've said that if you attack me, you'll be courting death. Why don't you believe me?" Ling Xiao laughed coldly, and a murderous aura gushed out. The whole space was filled with a biting, cold, murderous aura. It was terrifying, eerie, and frightening. This aura gave the guard a fright, and his body stiffened. It was as if he recalled the terrifying aura that Ling Xiao had previously emitted. "I don't want to kill anyone, so don't be so stubborn." Having just returned from the crystal factory, Ling Xiao really didn't want to cause any more trouble. Therefore, he didn't kill the guard this time. He only used his murderous aura and terrifying sword consciousness to intimidate the other party. "TSK, you piece of trash. Let me do it." The guard's fighting spirit had already dissipated, but Kulong's voice suddenly rang in his ears. "That's right. How disappointing. Cousin, you should do it, you piece of trash." Chu Lin's disappointed voice followed. Chapter 961. Fight. When the guard heard Kulong's sarcasm and Chu Lin's disappointed voice, he could no longer control his emotions. A dazzling spear radiance condensed on the spear in his hand. With the courage of a brave warrior, he stabbed towards Ling Xiao. "You really want to die?" As soon as he finished speaking, a radiance lit up. A crimson sun all, as dazzling as the sun, suddenly condensed in front of Ling Xiao. This crimson sun all was actually infused with a terrifying small success sword essence. A terrifying aura of death began to spread, as if a hand had grabbed the guard's heart. Oh no! At this moment, the guard finally understood that his opponent was not joking. Everything he said was true. If he had retreated earlier and given up earlier, he would not have faced such a terrifying attack. But how could Ling Xiao, who was merely at the peak of the 3 talents heaven, be so strong? He did not understand. He began to retreat rapidly, no longer caring about Chu Lin and Kulong's instigation. After all, compared to his life was more important. Even Kulong furrowed his brows. Ling Xiao's move was beyond his expectations. Although he was not afraid, he was still shocked. If a warrior at the peak of the 3 talents heaven could release such a terrifying attack, how terrifying would his strength be once he advanced to the 4 divisions heaven, Avalon of 5 elements, or even higher realms? No wonder the Blood Skull wanted to kill this guy. They probably also felt his terrifying potential. The guard jumped towards the bottom of the Heaven Essence Treasure Pagoda. He would rather fall to his death than take Ling Xiao's attack. This was because he could feel that falling from the 5th level was only a distance of about 20 meters. With his lightness skill, although he could not say that he would not be injured, he would not die. However, once he was hit by Ling Xiao's attack, he would definitely die. He was now filled with regret. Why did he have to stand out? Why did he have to offend Ling Xiao? Why? If he had not done that stupid thing just now, he would not have to run for his life in such a sorry state. He only wanted to live, even if he had to lose face. However, it was a pity. In the end, he was still one step too slow. If Ling Xiao wanted to kill someone, he would not let them escape so easily. The crimson sun all finally pierced the guard's body. In the final moments of his life, the only thing the guard was thinking about was regret. Boundless regret. He could have lived. Ling Xiao had given him many chances. Bang! The corpse fell from the sky and smashed heavily on the ground of the 1st floor. It was already deformed from the fall. Kulong and Chu Lin's hearts clenched as they looked at the corpse's miserable appearance in horror. They were so agitated that they began to tremble. They had originally thought that Ling Xiao was just a piece of trash who overestimated himself. In the end, they discovered that this trash was a demon king who could take their lives at any time. Ling Xiao, you sure have guts. You actually dared to kill Divine Phoenix Academy's guards inside the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. Kulong roared. Ling Xiao looked at Kulong with disdain. What? Could it be that only he is allowed to kill me, but I am not allowed to retaliate? Are all the people of the Phoenix Academy so shameless? The Blood Skull is like this, but you are even more despicable than them. You dare to scold me? Although Kulong was shocked by the scene of Ling Xiao killing the guard, he still felt that he was much stronger than that guard. He would definitely not end up like that guard. So what if I scold you? I still want to kill you. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Now, get out of my sight immediately, and I will forget everything that just happened. I hope you don't follow that guard's example and court death. You want me to get out? Kulong was a noble of the peacock race. Although he was only a branch of the peacock race, he was still considered a noble young master. He was also one of the top 100 disciples of the Phoenix Academy. Now he was being scolded by a human. His pride could not take it. Cousin, let's work together. At this time, Chu Lin no longer had the seductive look from before. Her eyes now revealed only fear and nervousness. No need. I alone am enough to deal with this trash. Kulong was very confident. Sigh. Ling Xiao could not help but sigh. Why bother? I don't want to kill anyone. But you guys insist on sending yourselves to your deaths. It seems that I am not ruthless enough. Cut the crap. Kulong said angrily. Don't think that you can show off in front of me just because you killed a guard that is not worth mentioning. Although he is also at the early stage of the Avalon of 5 elements, he is not even ranked in the Phoenix Academy. However, I am one of the top 100 disciples. The difference between us is like the difference between the sun and the moon. So what? Ling Xiao said calmly. If you want to die, then come. If you want to live, then get out of my sight before I change my mind. Cousin, this guy is too arrogant. But for safety's sake, let's work together to prevent him from plotting against us. Chu Lin was more rational than Kulong. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was not strong, he had dared to face the blood skull of the Avalon of 5 elements head-on when he was at the peak of One Line Sky. Although he had relied on his exquisite body movements, that was not something that an ordinary person could do. Now that Ling Xiao's cultivation had advanced to the peak of tri-elemental heaven within a month, there was no doubt that his potential was terrifying. Geniuses really could not be judged based on their cultivation level. Therefore, Chu Lin wanted to work together with Kulong. This way it would be safer. I said no need, so there's no need. I alone am enough to deal with this kind of trash. Kulong snorted coldly. His body began to change, and he quickly entered the half-demon state. His body gained some peacock characteristics, and his fighting strength had obviously increased by a lot. On the feathers behind his back, the beautiful patterns that resembled eyes began to flicker with multicolored light. Today, I will show you the innate gift of the peacock race. Kulong took a deep breath. He knew that Ling Xiao was not easy to deal with, but he was very confident in the innate gift of the peacock race. It seems like you are really looking for death. Since that is the case, I will fulfill your wish. Ling Xiao did not know what innate gift the peacock race's bloodline had, but he felt that there was no need to know. The mystic world was so vast, and there were many strange things. Martial souls and bloodlines belonged to 2 special power inheritances. Moreover, they formed their own systems and complemented each other. The closer one was to the gate of heaven's chosen, the closer the fusion between the power of the bloodline and the martial soul. Kulong only had the power of the bloodline and did not have a martial soul, so it was not that difficult to deal with him. Red Sun all. Ling Xiao's right hand shook slightly, preparing to test out his opponent's so-called innate gift against an unknown enemy. He naturally could not use his ultimate move at once. Otherwise, if his attack failed, it would be disastrous. After all, ultimate moves usually consumed a lot of energy. Looking at Ling Xiao's Red Sun all, a disdainful smile appeared on Kulong's face. Chapter 962. Following Ling Xiao's attack, the feathers on Kulong's back flickered with a resplendent light. Surprisingly, the crimson sun all actually disappeared. Could it be the profound of space? That's not right. Kulong shouldn't have comprehended the profound of space. He couldn't even use the power of space. But what was this? Was this the innate ability of the peacock race? Ling Xiao could clearly feel that the moment his crimson sun all flew over, it was sucked away by a force from another dimension. He couldn't tell where it went because the crimson sun all couldn't sense it anymore. Ha 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 ha, now you see, idiot. You can't show off in front of the peacock race. After gaining the upper hand with one move, Kulong was pleased with himself and laughed heartily. Bloodskull, I'm sorry, but I'll take Ling Xiao's life first. Cousin, you're too powerful. No wonder you didn't let me interfere. The peacock race has such talent. No wonder. Chu Lin, who was originally frowning, jumped up excitedly. Kill his cousin. I want his life. Don't worry, cousin. Soon, I'll cut off this kid's head and let you kick it like a ball. Kulong's confidence was greatly boosted. Ling Xiao's crimson sun all was indeed powerful, but it was meaningless if it couldn't touch him. He only needed to rely on the peacock race's divine light to be invincible. You're very proud? Ling Xiao smiled. Kid, stop bluffing. You're actually so scared that you're about to piss your pants, right? Yes, I'm so scared. Ling Xiao didn't want to waste his breath on this idiot. The peacock race's divine light was indeed magical. It seemed to be able to absorb the energy of attacks. But what if he couldn't see it? The eye of the world opened. He saw everything that was happening around him. I'm so scared that I want to end this battle as soon as possible. A sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. The golden crow sword. The crimson sun all condensed at the tip of the sword. Then a fiery aura began to spread, causing waves of heat to rise around him. End this battle? Don't even think about it. At some point in time, Kulong had completely infused his heavenly essence energy into his blood vessels. It seemed like he was planning to use the peacock race's divine light to deal with Ling Xiao, so he didn't plan on using any martial skills. After all, the divine light was effective. Whoosh! The blazing crimson sun all was once again sucked away by the divine light and disappeared. However, Kulong's forehead was already dripping with cold sweat. Ling Xiao's attack was too strong. His divine light consumed even more heavenly essence energy. If this continued, it would be a battle to see whose heavenly essence energy was denser. Pa pa pa! Ling Xiao suddenly put away the golden crow sword and smiled at Kulong. Well done, your peacock race's divine light is indeed formidable. Humph! Do you think that I will let you off just because you put away your sword? When Kulong saw Ling Xiao put away the golden crow sword, he mistakenly thought that Ling Xiao knew that he was no match for him, so he gave up on attacking. Kulong's nervous mood suddenly relaxed. Defense turned into attack. Kulong had two short knives in his hands, and he charged at Ling Xiao at an extremely fast speed. Bang! His charging body came to an abrupt stop. Kulong looked at his body in horror. There was an obvious circular hole in the middle of his back. What? How is this possible? Do you think you're the only one with a trump card? Go in peace. I will send your cousin, Chu Lin, down to find you. You won't be alone. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He didn't look at the regretful Kulong anymore, and instead turned his gaze to Chu Lin. At the end of the day, Everything seemed to have happened because of this woman. If it wasn't for this woman's instigation, perhaps the battle wouldn't have happened. At the very least, the guard wouldn't have attacked. No, I don't want to die. Seeing Kalong's body gradually stop moving, Chu Lin was terrified to the extreme. She kept retreating, and her body was already leaning against the guardrail of the Heavenly Essence Treasure Pagoda. Are you scared now? I just told you to scram. Why didn't you scram? Although Ling Xiao killing the guard was surprising, the guard was just an ordinary person, not worth mentioning. However, Ling Xiao had now killed Kalong. Moreover, he had killed Kalong face to face, fair and square. The most terrifying thing was that Chu Lin still couldn't figure out how Ling Xiao did it until Kalong was killed. What was the divine light of the Peacock clan that could absorb anything, and everything was restrained by? Chu Lin wasn't the only one who was shocked. Even the cultivators cultivating on the 5th floor were somewhat dumbfounded. The previous battle here didn't attract their attention. In any case, Kalong bullied people here every day, and they were already used to it. However, they couldn't help but be surprised that Kalong was killed. Didn't they say that Ling Xiao, who made a life and death pact with the Blood Skull, was only at the peak of one-line sky? He's obviously at the peak of 3 talents heaven. Yeah, I also heard that he ran away more than 20 days ago because he was afraid of being challenged. Why is he here again? Idiot. He must have gone somewhere to cultivate, now that he has successfully cultivated and even killed Kalong. I wonder if the Blood Skull is still a match for him. Idiot. Trash like Kalong can't even last one move against the Blood Skull. Many people in the crowd knew about the Blood Skull. He used to be one of the top 10 experts of the Phoenix Academy. Although his ranking had dropped, and he was pushed to the top 20 by some new geniuses, he was still a genius without a doubt. Haha, that's not necessarily true. If the Blood Skull hasn't made a breakthrough, it's hard to say who will win if he fights with this Ling Xiao. The group of people didn't intervene in the battle. They just wanted to watch from the sidelines. After all, a warrior who couldn't even enter a public cultivation room didn't have a high status and strength. They didn't want to throw their lives away. Hearing these people's discussion, Chu Lin's heart sank even more. Originally, she had seen many Phoenix Academy warriors sitting cross-legged in the corridor and thought that some of them would come forward to help her. In this way, Ling Xiao wouldn't dare to act recklessly, but now she was really desperate. If Ling Xiao could easily kill Kalong, then killing her would be as easy as flipping his hand. She had no chance of winning. Are you scared? Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded, startling Chu Lin. Young hero Ling, you and I don't know each other. Today's matter is just a misunderstanding. You've already killed Kalong, so please don't make things difficult for a little girl like me, okay? Chu Lin tried her best to show off her coquettishness. She wanted to use her beauty to attract Ling Xiao, so that Ling Xiao would let her go and even become her servant. What a joke! Ling Xiao said indifferently, You and I don't know each other. But just now you instigated that guard and Kalong to kill me. Don't you think that I'm just a stranger? If I were a little weaker, the one lying on the ground right now would be me. Would you have any pity or sympathy for me? Now you're telling me that we don't know each other? You want me to let you go? Don't you think that your words are a little too shameless and ridiculous? Chapter 963. I can compensate you. You can have anything you want. Even if you want my body, I'm willing. In order to survive, Chu Lin was willing to pay any price. Moreover, Ling Xiao's performance was so valiant that she was a little tempted. She wanted to turn Ling Xiao into her servant and order him around as she pleased. Is that so? Then I won't kill you, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Humph, men are all lecherous indeed. You convinced me just like that. You really scared me. Wait until we're in bed. I promise I'll make you submit completely. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Chu Lin snorted coldly in her heart. She couldn't help but feel proud of herself. She was glad that her mother gave her such a seductive body. Only then would she be able to use it at such a crucial moment. However, her complacency only lasted for a moment before her face turned deathly pale. I've killed enough people. I won't kill you any more. But I must destroy your cultivation and veins of heaven so that you won't continue to harm others. Ling Xiao's cold and firm voice stunned Chu Lin. Destroy her cultivation? Destroy her veins of heaven? No, no. She had worked so hard to reach the Avalon of 5 elements. How could she allow it to be destroyed so easily? Can't we discuss this further? I'm a disciple of Piping Island. You should know what Piping Island represents. The power of a sect is comparable to an empire. You won't have a good ending if you offend me. Chu Lin said, What did you say? You're a disciple of Piping Island? Ling Xiao couldn't help but be stunned. He was captured by Piping Island as a slave and treated like an animal. Although he managed to escape in the end, he did not suffer much and even benefited greatly. However, that was because he had the ability, not because Piping Island was merciful. If he did not have those abilities, he would be a numb walking corpse now and would be treated like an animal for the rest of his life. His resentment towards Piping Island was not shallow. Are you afraid? Chu Lin smiled. Perhaps she felt that there was hope for her. Are you afraid? Ling Xiao shook his head and said, You should feel regret for being a disciple of Piping Island. I have a deep grudge against Piping Island. I can't let you go now. Chu Lin was stunned for a moment, and a look of despair appeared on her face. She knew she was done for. If there was no miracle, she would definitely be crippled by this despicable human, and her heavenly veins would be crippled. She would never be able to cultivate again. Miracles seemed to favor her. At this moment, a single room on the 5th floor opened, and a person walked out. His hair was tied up in a white robe, and he held a fan made of white jade in his hand. He looked elegant and refined, and he gave off the vibe of a martial scholar. Brother Ling, why don't you stop now? Chu Lin is only a weak girl. Even if you have a grudge against Piping Island, it won't implicate her. As soon as this person came out, he stood between Ling Xiao and Chu Lin. He chuckled and said, Just now, she might have instigated Kelong to kill you, but that was just for fun. Anyway, you're fine. For my sake, let's stop here. Brother Yu. When Chu Lin saw this person, it was as if she saw her savior. She excitedly pounced on him and said, Brother Yu, save me. That person is so fierce. Sister Lin, why don't you apologize to him? Just now, you were indeed in the wrong. Kuyu said with a smile. I've already apologized, but he didn't appreciate it and insisted on crippling my cultivation. Chu Lin hid behind Kuyu and seemed to come alive again. Brotherling, you've already killed my cousin Kelong. Could it be that you still want to kill more? Sister Lin has already apologized to you. How about we let this go? Kuyu looked at Ling Xiao and said, Apologize? Not to mention that she didn't apologize to me. Even if she did, do you think it's useful? If I kill you and apologize to you, will your Ku clan let me go? Ling Xiao asked back. Moreover, who do you think you are? I don't know you, so why should I give you face? Ha ha ha, Kuyu, you can't do it. He didn't give you face at all. Laughter rang out. Another single room on the 5th floor opened, and another martial artist walked out. It was a martial artist from Qingshu College. Boy, get out of here. You've already taken advantage of killing. Kelong, don't embarrass our Qingshu College here. Otherwise, people will say that our Qingshu College's disciples don't know what's good for them. As soon as this person came out, he laughed and mocked Kuyu. Then he quickly changed the topic and glared at Ling Xiao, asking him to get out of here. Since you're a senior from Qingshu College, I won't touch you. Apologize now and get out of here. I'm afraid you know better than me who's the one who's embarrassing Qingshu College. Ling Xiao looked at this person indifferently and said coldly, Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like this? I don't care who you are. I'm talking to you with my mouth now, but I'll attack you later. Ling Xiao was very unhappy. He was besieged, and now he wanted to take revenge. But he was stopped by these so-called masters. Did they all want to play the hero in front of that woman? He really had to admit that that woman's charm was really great. But the more she was charming, the more he wanted to destroy her. If he let her live, he would not be able to live in peace in the future. What did you say? The senior from Qingshu College frowned and stared at Ling Xiao coldly. You're a newcomer to Qingshu College, right? How dare you not give me face? I don't care if you're Ning Ku or an idiot. You'd better not interfere in this matter, or Kulong will be your example. As Ling Xiao spoke, his momentum exploded and his sword essence condensed. It was like an unsheathed sword, and the piercing coldness pressed on Ning Ku. Ning Ku was stunned for a moment, but then he laughed. Ha 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 ha. I thought you were so arrogant. But it turns out that you're just a piece of trash at the peak of the 3 talents heaven level. I really don't know why Qingshu College likes someone like you. Ning Ku said disdainfully, you're at the peak of the 3 talents heaven level and have mastered small success sword essence. That's not bad. You can defeat trash like Kulong. But look carefully, I'm at the late stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Don't treat me like that kind of trash. As he spoke, Ning Ku's momentum exploded. The momentum of the late stage of the Avalon of 5 elements rushed towards Ling Xiao. It felt that Ning Ku was slightly weaker than heavenly venerable earthly fire. Their cultivations were similar, but heavenly venerable earthly fire's momentum was obviously stronger. It was probably because he participated in more battles on a daily basis. Are you done with your nonsense? Ling Xiao indifferently looked at Ning Ku. Originally, he really didn't want to fight against a senior brother from the Clear Void Academy. But seeing Ning Ku protect Chulin, he knew that this fellow's relationship with the disciples of the Divine Phoenix Academy was even better. He no longer had any scruples. Chapter 964. What? Ning Ku was stunned. He had thought that Qin Haodong would back down after he showed his cultivation. He had never expected that this new student of Qingshu College would not give him any face. You can get out of here if you're done talking. You have no right to be a hero here. Get out of here. Ling Xiao was still holding back. He did not want to kill anyone from Qingshu College unless he had no other choice. You're courting death. Ning Ku was enraged. His angry face turned red and then white. Ling Xiao ignored him. He looked at Kuyu and said, Ning Ku is my senior. I don't want to kill him. But if you don't get out of my way, don't blame me for being merciless. Ning Ku, get out of the way. Leave him to me. Kuyu cared a lot about his reputation. He would not protect someone easily. But if he was willing to do it, he had to do it. If someone dared to disrespect him, he would kill that person. Humph! If it weren't for the school's rule against killing each other, I would have killed you today. Ning Ku snorted and got out of the way. Kuyu held Chu Lin gently in his arms and said, Sister Lin, I feel a little empty these days. Would you like to stay with me for a few days? As long as, brother, you can kill that guy, I'll do whatever you want. Chu Lin looked at Ling Xiao with a ferocious expression. She hated Ling Xiao so much that she wanted Ling Xiao to die right now. Okay, that's what I want. You would not do a losing deal. Since he wanted to protect Chu Lin, he naturally wanted to enjoy her soft and charming body. He took a step forward and opened the fan in his hand. He said coldly, Today I'll let you know the real rules of the Heaven Essence Pagoda. Rules? Don't make it sound so dignified. If you want to be a hero in front of that woman, just say it. Why do you have to make yourself sound so great? Ling Xiao said disdainfully, You're right. I want that woman. But you have to understand the rules. That's strength. Kuyu smiled faintly and said, You're not young anymore. You can't be so stupid as to think that there's reason in the pugilistic world, right? Everything is just the law of the jungle. The reason why I wasn't angry when Kalong was killed was because he was too weak. He was trash. Even if he died, we wouldn't feel any pity. For example, if I kill you, Qingshu College won't do anything because no one will make a big fuss over a piece of trash. So that's how it is. This rule is easy to understand. Ling Xiao smiled and suddenly waved his hand. It was so fast that it was unbelievable. Before Kuyu had time to make a move, a fiery red light appeared in her pupils. He sneered and waved the fan in his hand to block the attack. However, the action was done, but unfortunately, the fan did not have any effect. The power of the Red Sun All, which contained the small success destruction sword intent, was even more terrifying. It directly drilled through Kuyu's defenses, broke through Kuyu's protective heavenly essence energy, and finally pierced through Kuyu's body. It was all done in one go. All Kuyu could do was open the fan. His body did not have time to condense heavenly essence energy. Under such circumstances, it would be strange if he did not die. Kuyu, who thought that he could control Ling Xiao's life and death, was killed by Ling Xiao in one move. His death was even more straightforward than Kulong's. Since Ling Xiao knew that Kuyu was also from the Peacock clan, why would he give him a chance to use the Peacock Divine Light? Naturally, he had to make the first move. The strong preys on the weak. You're right. This rule is really suitable for you. When Kuyu's body fell to the ground, Ling Xiao's voice echoed in the air. It was cold and full of sarcasm. Too strong. Yeah. Kuyu did not even have the slightest reaction. How fast is that? Seeing Kuyu's body on top of Kalong's, the spectating warriors were all frightened. Ling Xiao's attack was too fast. All they could see was a blinding light. Then Kuyu fell to the ground. They couldn't even see Ling Xiao's moves clearly because with their eyesight, it was impossible for them to reach that level. Ning Ke swallowed a mouthful of saliva and retreated a few steps. He almost fell off the Heaven Essence Pagoda. In his heart, he was inexplicably shocked. How could this newcomer be so terrifying? He had been in seclusion for almost a year and had finally broken through to the advanced stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Did he miss something? If Ling Xiao's attack had not been aimed at Kuyu, but at him, what would have happened to him? He did not dare to think about it. The result was obvious. In terms of cultivation, he was not as good as Kuyu. In terms of combat power, he was not as good as Kuyu. This was the reason why he was willing to be Kuyu's lackey. Ling Xiao looked at Ning Ku with a smile that was not a smile. It was a very ordinary look, but Ning Ke felt as if the blood in his body had frozen in an instant. Senior Ning Ku, do you still want a medal in this? Ling Xiao asked faintly. Junior Ling, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. I'll leave right now. Ning Ku was a man who knew when to yield. This could be seen from the fact that he had been following Kuyu, a disciple of Phoenix Academy. It was said that Ning Ke used to be high-spirited and was willing to fight for the Academy's honor, just like Ling Xiao. But later, Ning Ke met Kuyu and was defeated in one move. From then on, it was as if he had become a different person and had become Kuyu's lackey. Many disciples of the Qingshu Academy despised this person very much. Now you want to leave? Ling Xiao revealed a mocking smile as he said, If I remember correctly, just now you seem to have been clamoring about wanting to deal with me, right? Since you've said it, why don't you stand up like a man? I'm not a man. I'm shameless. Junior Ling, please spare my life. Ning Ke directly slapped his own face twice. It seemed that face meant nothing to him. I'll spare your life, but you have to do one thing for me. Ling Xiao didn't like Ning Ke, but he didn't want to break the rule of Qingshu College, which forbade disciples from killing each other. However, he didn't feel comfortable letting this guy go so easily, so he planned to ask for some compensation first. Junior Ling, just say it. Even if it's 100 or 1,000 things, I'll agree. Ning Ku was completely shameless. As long as he could live, he would give up everything. I want you to destroy your own cultivation. Are you willing? Ling Xiao said with a half-smile. What, destroy my own cultivation? Ning Ku was completely dumbfounded. Destroying his own cultivation was better than destroying his heavenly meridians, because he could cultivate again. However, he had offended too many people in the past. If he destroyed his cultivation now, his enemies would definitely not let him go. By then he might die a miserable death. Chapter 965. Ruthless. Yeah, I've heard that Ling Xiao is ruthless, but I didn't expect him to treat his fellow disciples the same way. Well, that Ning Ku offended him. Serves him right. Please, junior brother Ling, let me destroy my own cultivation. I'll die if I do that. Ning Ku knelt down before Ling Xiao. It's easy if you don't want to destroy your own cultivation. Kill the woman next to you, and I'll let you go. Ling Xiao smiled evilly. He wanted to drag Ning Ku down with him. In this way, Ning Ku would offend Piping Island and the Phoenix Academy. He would have no choice but to follow Ling Xiao in the future. No. Chu Lin looked at Ning Ku in fright. She shook her head and wept like a weeping beauty. She was really desperate now. She thought that Kuyu could help her kill Ling Xiao after coming out of seclusion. But now, Ling Xiao couldn't even be bothered to cripple her cultivation. Instead, he wanted to kill her. This was retribution. Senior brother Ning, you only have one chance. Make your choice. My patience is limited. Ling Xiao said lightly. I'm sorry, Chu Lin. Blame yourself for offending junior brother Ling because you were blind. How could a person like Ning Ku pity Chu Lin, as long as he could save his own life and cultivation? He didn't care if he killed Chu Lin now. If Piping Island came to seek revenge, he could just hide in Qingshu College. Anyway, even Piping Island couldn't break into Qingshu College to make trouble. While speaking, he started to attack. Facing Ning Ku, who was much stronger than her, Chu Lin's face was extremely pale. She suddenly recalled the scene when she instigated Kulong and the guard to attack Ling Xiao. She regretted it. From that moment on, her tragic ending was already set in stone. Ah! With a scream, Chu Lin's head was cut off by Ning Ku. In order to show his loyalty to Ling Xiao, Ning Ku did everything he could. However, Ling Xiao didn't look happy. In fact, he hated people like Ning Ku. In order to survive, he could abandon anyone. Scram! You better not offend me in the future. Otherwise, don't blame me for finding an excuse to kill you. Ling Xiao waved his hand and told Ning Ku to get out. Ning Ku actually rolled down the stairs. Scum! Cursing in disdain, Ling Xiao turned around and entered a single cultivation room. As for the corpses outside, someone would naturally take care of them. There was no need for him to worry at all. He was not a domineering person. Although this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak, he had never used his strength to bully the weak, unless someone offended him. As for the remaining single room, whoever has the ability can go and use it. The moment the stone door fell, Ling Xiao said faintly, "Thank you, young hero Ling." Ling Xiao didn't care about their gratitude. He was just following his heart. Sitting cross-legged in the cultivation room, he took out the heavenly essence crystal and the heavenly spirit elixir. Then he opened the eyes of the world and began the final sprint of cultivation. The mountain river martial soul started to operate. The energy from the heavenly essence crystal and the heavenly spirit elixir began to flow into Ling Xiao's limbs and bones. It constantly condensed, strengthened, and became pure. At the same time, he still didn't stop comprehending the light and shadow ultimacy. Cultivation was one thing, but he couldn't stop comprehending the light and shadow ultimacy. Cultivation was the most boring thing, and time passed the fastest. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. The corpses outside had already been taken care of. Ling Xiao's deeds had also spread throughout the imperial city. Now, almost all the martial artists who were interested in this matter knew that Ling Xiao's cultivation had increased greatly after he came back from a trip. They had originally thought that the battle between Ling Xiao and the Blood Skull would be boring, but now they couldn't help but be a little more interested. On the last day of the month, many people gathered in the busiest square in the imperial city. This was originally the place where the imperial court issued orders. The common people could also come here to listen to the imperial edicts. The place was very big and spacious, and the protective measures were also very good. At this time, the square, which was originally bustling with people, was directly surrounded by a ring. A whole fighting stage, made of special materials, stood there. The flags of Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College were placed on both sides of the stage. In the middle was the flag of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Could it be that Phoenix Academy and Qingshu College are going to have a disciple duel here? Otherwise, why would they make such a big scene? Seeing that even the palace guards were nearby to maintain order, someone couldn't help but ask. It's a disciple duel, but it's only a duel between the Blood Skull and Ling Xiao. The person next to him explained, but I'm also a little surprised. This is only a duel between two disciples. Why is it so noisy? The publicity work started at the beginning of this month, and it was still going on until yesterday. You only know one thing, but you don't know the other. Someone in the know laughed and said, this matter is no longer just a conflict between the two people. It involves the secret competition between the two great academies. What do you mean? You really don't know? When Ling Xiao first came to the imperial city, he humiliated the Phoenix Academy in front of so many people. He even crippled the Phoenix Academy's Lung Chan and Feng Mingbo. Do you think the Phoenix Academy can tolerate this? Of course not. That's right. But the problem is that the Phoenix Academy is in the wrong. In terms of overall strength, they may not be able to compete with Qingshu College. Later on, Ling Xiao offended the Blood Skull, so the Phoenix Academy placed their hopes of revenge on the Blood Skull. No wonder. I heard that the Blood Skull was given the right to cultivate by the Phoenix Academy this month. Whether it was resources or martial arts, they were given whatever they wanted. They even received personal guidance from the Vice Dean. I guess they broke through their cultivation again. That's for sure. But Ling Xiao is also not easy to deal with. What do you mean? You've been cultivating in seclusion all this time. How come you don't know anything? The person who spoke proudly continued. More than 20 days ago, Ling Xiao caused a ruckus at the Divine Phoenix auction house. He didn't give face to Yen Peng of the Rock Race and stole the slave that Yen Peng wanted. It said that someone saw an expert trying to kill Ling Xiao halfway. He was a Grotto Heaven Realm expert, but he was actually killed by Ling Xiao and the slave. That's amazing. The amazing part is yet to come. Ling Xiao didn't return for more than 20 days. Everyone thought that he had escaped. But the moment he returned, he killed Kulong and Ku Yu of the Peacock race. Both of them were disciples of the Phoenix Academy. That can't be. Kulong and Ku Yu are both practitioners of the Avalon of 5 elements. How can this Ling Xiao be so powerful? Amazing. Of course he's amazing. According to the memories of those who were present, Kulong used the Peacock race's divine light, but was defeated by Ling Xiao's secret weapon. Ku Yu was even more miserable. He was killed in one move and didn't even have the chance to make a move. TSK, if that's the case, then today's competition will be interesting to watch. It's hard to say who will emerge victorious. That's right. The stage is already set up today. Tomorrow is the day of the competition. We can't miss it. Chapter 966. Phoenix Academy, Qingshu College, Peacock Tribe, Great Rock Tribe, Piping Island, this duel between Ling Xiao and Bloodskull was no longer a duel between two individuals. It had completely become a secret contest between the various major powers. It would be too shabby if there wasn't such an ostentatious stage for such an important duel. The next morning, the red sun hung high in the sky. A large crowd had already gathered in the square. Perhaps it was because the early publicity for this duel had been done very well, so it was very sensational. Banners for the duel were hung all over the streets and alleys. There were even huge portraits of Ling Xiao and Bloodskull. This duel had become a grand occasion in the imperial city. Back then, Ling Xiao and Bloodskull had agreed to duel 1 month later, but the specific time had not been set. It could be morning, afternoon, or even night. Even if these people had to waste time waiting here, they didn't want to miss such a meaningful duel. When the red sun shed its red dress and replaced it with a golden armor, Bloodskull arrived, dressed in a blood-red robe, coupled with his frightening aura of death. Many cultivators couldn't help but feel apprehensive. I haven't seen him for a month, but he's already broken through 2 stages and reached the advanced stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Bloodskull sneered when he heard the discussions. His strong self-confidence made him walk with his head held high and his chest puffed out. He looked very energetic. For the sake of today's battle, he had been cultivating with all his might for the past month. He had gone through hellish training. It could be said that he was better off dead than alive. All of this was caused by Ling Xiao. He wanted to vent all the suffering he had suffered over the past month on Ling Xiao and completely trample Ling Xiao under his feet. Bloodskull cupped his hands towards Divine Phoenix Academy's vice principal, Fengming Wanchong, as well as Sikong Zun and the others. Then he directly stepped onto the martial stage and sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes and rested, no longer paying attention to anything happening in the outside world. I, the unique and righteous. Perhaps this was the only word that could describe Bloodskull now. Although there were countless experts scrutinizing him, he didn't show any signs of nervousness. He was completely calm and composed. This was a true expert. A month ago, the Bloodskull was ranked 20th in the Phoenix Academy. At that time, he was only at the peak of the 4 divisions and had just broken through to the Avalon of 5 elements. He hadn't had the time to participate in the ranking battle. Now his cultivation was at the late stage of the Avalon of 5 elements. Furthermore, he had completely consolidated his cultivation at this stage. Many people felt that his current ranking was no longer 20th, and that he might have advanced by a few places. In the past, the Bloodskull had been extremely dangerous. The Bloodskull was even more terrifying today. After the Bloodskull sat down, a few more groups of people arrived one after another. When these people arrived, they all sat in the VIP seats. One of the groups was led by a middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s. His attire was very different from the Divine Phoenix Empire's practitioners. If Ling Xiao was here, he would be able to recognize that this middle-aged man was the young lord of Piping Island, Chumu. He had originally come to Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial city to hunt down Ling Xiao, but he never thought that the first thing he would hear upon arriving here would be that his own sister, Chu Lin, had been killed. Even though Chu Lin wasn't killed by Ling Xiao, it had a lot to do with Ling Xiao. He didn't care who had provoked whom or who had made the first move. In any case, his sister was dead, so he wanted to find trouble with Ling Xiao. On the other side, the Peacock Phoenix son, Kong He, led a group of elites from the Peacock race to sit there. His gaze was extremely cold. Ling Xiao had killed Kulong and Kuyu. Even though these two were only branch families of the Peacock race, it was a serious matter of face. Sitting beside Kong, he was an elder. He should be an expert from the Peacock race, but no one knew what he did. The great rock phoenix son, Ping Yu, also came. Naturally, he was here because of Ling Xiao. At the Divine Phoenix auction house, Ling Xiao had actually dared to not give the great rock race any face. This made him very angry. Sitting beside him was Yen Peng. Yen Peng was the son-in-law of the great rock race. He was also the brother-in-law of the heavenly rock phoenix sun, Peng Yu. Peng had suffered a setback. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get back at Ling Xiao, so he specially invited Peng Yu to help. Sitting beside the great rock race was the young master of the divine phoenix auction house, Feng Ming Wushan. Feng Ming Wushan was the young master of the divine phoenix auction house. He was also the younger brother of the crown prince, Feng Ming Qishan. It was said that Feng Ming Qishan was a martial arts fanatic. Other than leading troops to war, he spent the rest of his time cultivating. Many of his matters were done by Feng Ming Wushan. Since they had arrived at the divine phoenix auction house, the people from the heavenly dragon auction house naturally couldn't not come. Yunyan knew that Ling Xiao's identity was special. Naturally, she came to support Ling Xiao. At the same time, she wanted to see if Ling Xiao could be the person they wanted to nurture. A long time had passed, but no one from Qingshu College came. Ling Xiao didn't appear either. Damn it, Qingshu College's bunch. How arrogant. They actually made us wait here. Feng Ming Wanchong was impatient and cursed loudly. Brother Wanchong, why are you so anxious? There is no fixed time for today's duel. Even if Ling Xiao is delayed by something, you can still leave. No one forced you to come here to watch the duel. The person who spoke was the late Deputy Dean of Qingshu College, Feng Qingyan. Old Phoenix Qingyan, why did you come here alone? This is such a big matter, and Qingshu College doesn't seem to care at all? Feng Ming Wanchong shouted. Is this a big matter? At the end of the day, it is just a private duel between the students of the academy. Even I came here in my own name because I couldn't persuade that girl Yanran. I don't represent Qingshu College. Feng Qingyan said casually. These words could be said to be of high standard. Qingshu College doesn't care about the duel at all, but Phoenix Academy treats it like a treasure. If we lose, it doesn't matter. We don't care anyway. If we were to win, then your divine Phoenix Academy would be utterly disgraced. You're only good at talking. Humph. At the end of the day, Qingshu College doesn't have confidence in Ling Xiao, so you don't dare to come here and embarrass yourselves. Sikong Zun interrupted. On the contrary, we don't care because we trust Ling Xiao. No matter what Phoenix Academy does, the Blood Skull will lose today's duel, without a doubt. Feng Qingyan smiled and said, Of course the premise is that Phoenix Academy won't be as shameless as Electric Demon King and use such despicable means. Sikong Zun's mouth twitched a few times, but he didn't say anything. If they continued to bicker, it would only make him more passive. Feng Qingyan's mouth was almost as good as Ling Xiao's. They were both too talkative. Humph. I'm afraid that kid will be too scared to come today. Feng Ming Wanchong snorted coldly and stopped talking. He closed his eyes and continued to wait. Since he couldn't win the argument, he could only let the Blood Skull defeat Ling Xiao and counterattack. Chapter 9, 67. Feng Qingyan smiled and didn't say anything else. Ling Xiao will definitely come. With his understanding of the young man, he is definitely not someone who is afraid of trouble. Even if he knows he can't win, he will still come. Vice Principal, we are here. Not long after, Feng Yanran, Haim Mian Ko, Lan Yu, and the others also arrived. Where is Ling Xiao? Feng Qingyan asked. He is still in seclusion. I heard from Cold Plum that he should be coming out soon. Dai Yuling knew Cold Plum. After all, both of them were once under Lin Zhe. Cold Plum. Oh, she is a girl that Ling Xiao saved before. Her strength is not bad, Dai Yuling explained. Hee, this kid's luck with women is really good. Yanran, if you don't work hard, I am afraid he will be taken away by others. Feng Qingyan chuckled. Vice Dean, what are you talking about? I've already said that I only have the heart to repay Ling Xiao's kindness. I have no other thoughts. Feng Yanran was anxious and quickly changed the topic. By the way, Uncle Qingyan cousin said that he will come. I didn't see him. There, the seat over there is reserved for him. No one dares to take it. On the VIP stand, there were 2 chairs in the center. One was prepared for Feng Yinshan, and the other was prepared for Feng Mingqishan. Whether they come or not, the chairs have to be prepared. This is the rule. Mingkong you, and you all sit with me. The view is better here. Anyway, there's so many empty seats. Feng Yanran nodded and then turned to Haim Miankeo, Lan Yu and the others. Okay, although they were worried about Ling Xiao, they couldn't just stand there and wait. It was better to sit. Maybe Ling Xiao will be here soon. Stop! Just as Feng Yanran sat down, Haim Miankeo and the others wanted to sit there, but they were stopped by the guards of the Peacock clan and the Rock clan. What's wrong? Feng Yanran frowned. Miss Yanran, you can sit, but these lowly commoners can't. They are humans, lowly and lowly. How can they be fit to sit with our master? It's more appropriate to stand there. The Peacock race's guard cupped his hands and said, Damn it. All right, Yanran. Don't get angry over such a small matter. We'll just stand. We're all warriors, so we won't get tired. Lan Yu, I didn't want to cause trouble, so she made the decision to keep the peace. Since she had said so, Haim Miankeo did not say anything else. Although the others were a little unhappy, they could only stand there. This was not a matter of tiredness. This was a classic example of discrimination and humiliation. If he didn't sit, it would be obvious that he was inferior. Of course, they didn't blame Lan Yu. Lan Yu's character was like a big sister. She hoped that everyone could be safe and sound. She didn't want to cause trouble. Humph, that's more like it, lowly commoner. The Peacock races and Rock races guards said disdainfully. Although they were just slaves of the 2 races, they felt good about themselves. They didn't even put humans in their eyes. No one knew where their confidence came from. Another 2 hours passed, and many people were getting impatient from waiting. Some people even took out their dry food and ate it. They looked at the sky and were a little unhappy. Feng Ming Wanchong opened his eyes and scolded. Feng Qingyan, your Qingshu College's strength is not good, but your disciple is very arrogant. So many people are waiting for him here. Damn it, if he comes, I'll cripple him. If you can't wait, you can leave. No one is forcing you to wait here. I've already said that this is just a duel between 2 ordinary disciples. It's already a waste of money to make such a big scene. Brother Wanchong, you're busy. Why don't you go back? Feng Qingyan said sarcastically. Bastard. What do you mean? Isn't Ling Xiao a disciple of your Qingshu College? Do you want these people to come here for nothing? Feng Ming Wanchong was even angrier. What a joke. It's your Phoenix Academy who set up this stage and even collected spectator fees. Why? Are you afraid that this duel won't go on? Your Phoenix Academy will lose face? Serves you right. Feng Qingyan laughed. Feng Ming Wanchong gritted his teeth. He couldn't refute Feng Qingyan's words. For this duel, they spent a lot of spirit stones to advertise it. Therefore, they definitely hoped to earn back some of it through the spectator fees. If Ling Xiao really didn't come, then they really couldn't explain it to the cultivators present. I've heard that Ling Xiao is the chosen one of the Sky Dragon continent. He's extremely arrogant and doesn't put anyone in his eyes. Today it seems like it's true. That's not necessarily true. Maybe he knows that he can't beat the Blood Skull and can't bear to lose in front of so many people, so he just killed himself. Stop joking. If he's really that kind of person, he won't come back after leaving the Divine Phoenix Empire. He should really be cultivating. That's true. Then let's wait a little longer. However, the longer we wait, the more losses the Phoenix Academy will suffer. Why? You don't know? After the Divine Phoenix Academy announced that they would be collecting a fee to watch the matches, they only said that they would be collecting a fee from morning till evening. If Ling Xiao were to come after evening, then the Divine Phoenix Academy wouldn't be able to collect a single spirit stone. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Ha ha ha, that's true. I'm now suspecting that Ling Xiao is deliberately stalling for time so that he can mess with the Phoenix Academy. That's really possible. Although they said that the cultivators were still unwilling to leave, they still sat there and waited. At most, they would drink some water when they were thirsty and eat when they were hungry. On the stage, the blood skull was still sitting cross-legged, as if everything in the outside world had nothing to do with him. However, in reality, he was also very angry. He hated waiting for people the most, not to mention waiting for a few hours. Even if he waited for a short while, he would be so irritable that he would want to kill someone. Ling Xiao must die, and it's going to be very miserable. The blood skull said viciously in his heart. Time continued to pass, and the sun set in the west. It was already evening. This brat is really daring. I'm now more and more certain that this brat is deliberately tricking the Phoenix Academy. Hee, although we have waited for so long, it's not bad to watch a free match. I think Ling Xiao should be here soon. In the crowd, many cultivators were distressed by the cost of the spectator fees. Most importantly, the Phoenix Academy was really too ruthless. They actually charged 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for a single spectator fee. For most cultivators, this was definitely not a small amount. Only a fool would not be happy to be able to save these spirit stones. They were happy, but the people from the Phoenix Academy were unhappy. Feng Qingyan, you bastard! Are you still the vice dean of the Qingshu College? You can't even control a disciple. Feng Ming Wanchong stood up and roared furiously. Hee, Brother Wanchong, why are you in such a hurry? It's not dark yet. If you don't want to wait, hurry up and go back. There's no need to waste your time here. Feng Qingyan joked. Chapter 968. Although Feng Qingyan didn't know why Ling Xiao wasn't here yet, he was still very happy to see Feng Ming Wanchong's flustered and exasperated appearance. He had been fighting with Feng Ming Wanchong since young. Seeing Feng Ming Wanchong suffer, he was naturally happy. The disciples of the Phoenix Academy weren't happy. They were thinking that Ling Xiao was only a peak 3 talents heaven realm martial artist. How could he be so arrogant? There were so many people here who were stronger than him. Did he really dare to stand everyone up? Young master, did we make a mistake? Is this Ling Xiao really the person who caused a ruckus in the crystal factory? An old man beside the young master of Piping Island, Chu Mu, asked in confusion. There shouldn't be a mistake. It doesn't matter. Anyway, doesn't Wei Wei know that Ling Xiao? When Ling Xiao appears later, we will know. Don't you think so, Wei Wei? Chu Mu looked at the woman on the other side. It was actually Kai Weiwei who was Shimin Bo's partner in the crystal factory. At this moment, Kai Weiwei had a collar around her neck. There was even a chain attached to it. She was kneeling there, and Chu Mu was stepping on her back. Yes, young master. Kai Weiwei's heart was filled with grief. She even wanted to die. Originally, when the crystal factory was in chaos, she could have taken the opportunity to escape. However, because she was recognized as the person who informed the manager, she was chased by the slaves and missed the best time to escape. In the end, she was found by Chu Mu. She thought that her luck had come. She thought that Chu Mu would like her and give her happiness. However, what Chu Mu did was even more beastly than Shimin Bo. He actually put a collar on her and treated her like a bitch that he could wantonly bully. She didn't dare to resist. If she resisted, she would be beaten half to death by Chu Mu and be covered in injuries. She could only numbly wait for her fate to decide. Let her continue to suffer, or let her use death to relieve her pain. Yes, young master, I know that Ling Xiao. Thinking about Ling Xiao, Kai Weiwei's heart was filled with complex emotions. At that time, if she hadn't followed Shimin Bo to inform him, but had followed Ling Xiao and the others to rebel, perhaps she would have returned to her own sect by now. Even though his sect was not outstanding in the divine Phoenix continent, he still ate and drank well and lived a carefree life. Unlike now, he was worse than a pig or a dog. If he really is Ling Xiao, I will arrange for Peacock Phoenix to kill him. Chu Mu coldly smiled and said, that brat killed 2 people from the peacock race. Although they weren't people who could be seen in public, the peacock race is still a noble clan. They want to keep their face. It's impossible for them to give up. We just need to sow discord between them. He did not intend to do it himself. After all, he was the young master of Piping Island. If he were to kill a disciple of Qingshu College in the Divine Phoenix Empire's imperial city, then this matter could really be big or small. It might even lead to a showdown between Piping Island and Divine Phoenix Empire. He's here. Right at this moment, someone suddenly shouted. 2 figures broke through the air and arrived. It was Ling Xiao and Cold Plum. Ling Xiao, that brat, actually came in the evening. He couldn't have been waiting at the side since the beginning, right? Who cares so much? As long as he's here, then it's fine. Today's trip was not in vain. Ling Xiao was dressed in black, matching his long black hair. His entire person was filled with an unfathomable aura. When he landed at the bottom of the stage, the surrounding people naturally opened up a path for him, allowing him to ascend the stage. If someone were to observe carefully, they would realize that when Ling Xiao landed, the dust on the ground did not fly up at all. This was the performance of minute subtlety. Even if it was a martial artist whose cultivation was much higher than his, they might not be able to reach the state of minute subtlety. Minute subtlety allowed one to control their own body to the finest detail. If they wanted to be heavy, they could be heavy. If they wanted to be light, they could be light. When they were heavy, they would be like a boulder falling to the ground. When they were light, they would be like a flying goose feather. In the VIP seats, Kai Weiwei almost shouted when she saw that confident and handsome face through her messy hair, because she felt that the only person who could save her now was Ling Xiao. She and Ling Xiao didn't have any deep hatred between them. Even if Ling Xiao didn't like her, he might still help her. But she still couldn't shout. That was because she was afraid that Ling Xiao wouldn't help her. At that time, she would definitely be beaten to death by Chu Mu. Thinking back to when they were on the ship, she was so disdainful of Ling Xiao. But now, Ling Xiao had become her life-saving straw. How ironic was this? On the stage, the blood skeleton suddenly opened his eyes. A terrifying aura of death erupted from him as he roared at Ling Xiao. Brat, how dare you make me wait for so long? Ling Xiao ignored the blood skeleton's ferocious aura of death. Instead, he turned to Cold Plum and said, go sit on the stage. This battle will end soon. Damn, how arrogant. He actually doesn't put the blood skeleton in his eyes. When the crowd saw this, they couldn't help but break out in cold sweat for Ling Xiao. This brat really was as arrogant as the rumors said. But on the other hand, the fact that the blood skeleton's aura couldn't affect him meant that his soul was extremely powerful. Understood, master. Cold Plum went up the stage and saw Haim Myung Ko and the others standing there. She frowned, not knowing what to do. At this time, Ling Xiao also noticed the scene and couldn't help but ask, Haim Myung Ko, why aren't you sitting? Humph. How can such a lowly commoner be qualified to sit with us? The Peacock clan's guard snorted coldly. Pa! As soon as he finished speaking, he was directly sent flying. Naturally, it was Ling Xiao who made the move. The guard flew dozens of meters away and fell to the ground. He looked at Ling Xiao in horror, feeling wronged and disbelieving. Ling Xiao actually dared to hit him in front of so many people. You're crazy, the Great Rock clan's guard shouted in a trembling voice. Pa! Another slap, and the Great Rock clan's guard was also sent flying. I'm crazy? This is really funny. Today is the battle between me, Ling Xiao, and the blood skeleton, but my friend can't sit. She's even being called a lowly commoner. You say I'm crazy? Ling Xiao was not Lan Yu. He had no intention of settling the matter peacefully. Ever since he was young, he had only understood that the strong preyed on the weak. The bigger the fist, the better the face. He would bully whoever bullied him. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Bastard! How dare you hit one of our men? The Peacock Phoenix Sun and Skyrock Phoenix Sun stood up at the same time and said to Ling Xiao at the same time. Idiot, I even killed Kulong and Kuyu, so what if I hit them? There's also the Heavenly Rock Phoenix, Sun Pengyu. You better take good care of Yen Peng by your side. Don't let him be alone. Otherwise, he will definitely die. Ling Xiao didn't forget that Yen Peng had found someone to kill him halfway. If he hadn't joined forces with Qin Hu back then, he would probably have died. This kind of enmity was no joke. Tu Huangzi, give me some face. Today is a duel between me and him. After the duel ends, we'll settle the matter between the both of you. How about that? At this moment, the Blood Skull spoke. Chapter 969. That's true. Anyway, this Ling fellow won't be able to live. What's the point of arguing with a dead person? Peacock Phoenix's Sun Kong, he sneered and indeed sat down. He could endure until now when Kulong and Kuyu were killed. Why couldn't he endure when a mere guard was sent flying? Brat, I'll let you live a little longer. Heavenly Rock Phoenix Sun Pengyu also sneered and sat down. Great, Mingkong, you guys sit down. Feng, Yanran hurriedly invited Lan Yu, and the rest to sit down. There weren't many people in the aristocratic seating area, so there were still many empty seats. Haim, Mian Ko, and the rest sat down. Only then did Ling Xiao jump onto the stage and look at the Blood Skull. You've been waiting for your death here. After saying this, Ling Xiao's aura exploded and a ferocious sword consciousness pierced through the air towards Blood Skeleton. You're the one who's here to die. Naturally, Blood Skeleton was not to be outdone. His death aura transformed into a skeleton and pounced on Ling Xiao. The two of them fought without giving the spectators any time to prepare themselves. The sword consciousness condensed into a solid form and pierced through the void, shocking many swordsmen. This is level 5 minor success. The rumors are true. Rumor has it that he has just comprehended level 1 minor success. It seems that his sword consciousness has improved again in the past month. Tisk TSK, no wonder he's so arrogant. Swordsmen are all unconventional. When the blood-red skeleton collided with the sword intent, it actually started to crack. This caused the blood skeleton's expression to change drastically. How could his soul power, which was at the late stage of the Avalon of 5 elements, be inferior to Ling Xiao's? He was actually suppressed? No wonder Ling Xiao did not react when he used his death aura to pressure Ling Xiao. Despicable. Since his soul power was inferior, he could only fight. Blood Skeleton understood that if this continued, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. This was using his weakness to attack Ling Xiao's strength. It was extremely unwise. Great! Brilliant! The spectators cheered loudly because this was what they wanted to see the most. The weak had defeated the strong, and the underdog had defeated the powerful warrior of the Nether Fire Phoenix tribe. This was simply the most exciting script. Blood Skull, Nether Fire Phoenix tribe, and Divine Phoenix Empire's noble warriors. Ling Xiao, a human martial artist from the Sky Dragon continent. The difference between their statuses was too great. However, it was precisely because of this difference that it was even more exciting. For such a battle, not to mention waiting a day, even waiting until tomorrow would be worth it. Humph! At that moment, a cold shout suddenly rang out from the nobles' seating area. A powerful soul power instantly shattered the soul duel between Ling Xiao and the Blood Skull. Although his cold snort seemed to have affected both sides, it was actually a great help to the Blood Skull. As a result, the Blood Skull, which had been on the verge of being defeated in the soul power battle, was freed from its predicament. The person who had snorted was none other than the Vice Dean of the Phoenix Academy, Fengming Wanchong. "Lad, why are you in such a hurry? You made me wait here for an entire day and caused the Phoenix Academy to lose a large amount of spiritual stones. You want to start the duel without giving me an explanation? Dream on." After disrupting the battle, Fengming Wanchong had no intention of stopping. Every word he said was infused with powerful soul power, which continuously bombarded Ling Zhao's spirit ocean. Even though Ling Zhao's soul was comparable to a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior's, it was still seriously injured by the attacks of a Yin-Yang Realm expert. It was as if his spirit ocean had exploded. It was extremely uncomfortable. Ling Zhao immediately hugged his head. It was so painful that he felt as if tens of thousands of needles were pricking his brain. Not only that, but the blood skull also had no intention of stopping his attacks. Instead, he charged forward and heavily punched Ling Zhao's body. The punch broke through Ling Zhao's Heavenly Yuan energy protection and tore apart Ling Zhao's clothes. Fortunately, Ling Zhao's body's defensive power was extremely strong. Thus, he was able to avoid being heavily injured. Scram! At the critical moment, Ling Zhao's hidden Human King's strength erupted. Not only did it repel Fengming Wanchong's soul power, but it also burrowed into Fengming Wanchong's spirit ocean like a worm, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Fengming Wanchong let out a miserable howl and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale and filled with fear. As for the blood skeleton, it was sent flying by the rebounding force. It fell off the stage and smashed a deep crater in the ground. His body was shining with golden light, and his hair had turned completely golden. At this moment, Ling Zhao was like a god of war. Looking at this scene, everyone was shocked. This series of events happened too quickly. Many people didn't understand the situation at all. Even Feng Qingyan didn't have time to help Ling Zhao. His face was filled with astonishment and joy. Ling Zhao's performance had far exceeded his expectations. He was afraid that this kid's body was hiding an astonishing power. Ling Zhao wasn't very happy, because he only had 7 cauldrons of Human King's strength left. This was a limited amount of strength. Once it was used up, it would be gone. If it wasn't for the fact that his life was in danger, he wouldn't have used it even if he was beaten to death. With his golden hair fluttering in the wind, Ling Zhao looked at Fengming Wanchong and coldly said, "Shameless old thing, you're the vice principal of the Phoenix Academy. You actually used such a despicable method to plot against a junior. No wonder the Phoenix Academy produced such shameless people. Now I completely understand. A crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Don't tell me you didn't do it. If you're still a man, stand up and admit it." Ling Zhao's words made everyone dumbstruck. This kid was too awesome. Did he eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? He actually dared to insult the vice principal of the Phoenix Academy in front of so many people, and even revealed the despicable and filthy things that the other party had done. Fengming Wanchong's face was very ugly. He had really miscalculated today. He originally thought that if he secretly helped the Blood Skull and taught Ling Zhao a lesson, with his status and identity, Ling Zhao definitely wouldn't dare to say anything. He had done such things before. In the end, the only one to suffer was Ling Zhao. He wouldn't lose a single hair. However, the outcome of the matter was far beyond his expectations. He was actually injured by Ling Zhao's soul power. Moreover, it was very serious. At this moment, he felt as if countless scorpions were continuously biting his brain. If that was all, he could still find an excuse to leave and treat his injuries. However, something even more unexpected happened. Ling Zhao was actually so arrogant. He actually dared to point out and insult him in front of so many people. If he left like this, he really wouldn't have the face to see others in the future. Cough, cough. You little bastard, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Of course, Fengming Wanchong couldn't admit that he had sneakily attacked Ling Zhao. Even if everyone knew that this was the truth, he still couldn't admit it. Once he admitted it, it would become an excuse for others. He was extremely angry. Even Feng Qingyan didn't dare to insult him like this. This kid, a mere human, an insignificant disciple, actually dared to treat him like this. Chapter 970. You don't understand? It seems like the dignified vice president of the Phoenix Academy, Feng Mingwanchong, is actually not a man. Ling Xiao sneered and said, You said I made you wait for a day in vain? What a joke. The duel between me and the Blood Skull was originally a private agreement, and there was no time limit. If you like to wait, then that's your own choice. I, Ling Xiao, do not welcome a eunuch like you to watch the duel, lest you bring shame to this duel. You said I caused the Phoenix Academy to spend a large amount of spirit stones on publicity. Then I can only say that you deserve it. Did you ask for my permission to do the publicity? Did you ask for my permission to charge the fees? What a joke. You used my name to make money, and now you're blaming me for your losses? Let me tell you the truth. I deliberately came at this time to make the Phoenix Academy go bankrupt. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Feng Mingwanchong was extremely angry. His breathing became more and more rapid, and his heartbeat accelerated. His body began to tremble violently. He wanted nothing more than to go on stage and strangle Ling Xiao to death right now, so that this guy would shut his stinky mouth. However, Ling Xiao had no intention of stopping. He sneered and said, The vice president of the Phoenix Academy, what a great style! Unfortunately, in my eyes, you're just a eunuch without a penis. You're just a coward who dares to do something, but doesn't dare to admit it. You're just a despicable and shameless villain. The Phoenix Academy should be ashamed of having a vice president like you. They should be ashamed and unable to show their faces. If I was sitting there, I would have found a hole to hide in by now. How could I still have the face to live? After hearing Ling Xiao's righteous words, most people understood the situation. No wonder Ling Xiao suddenly hugged his head and was in so much pain. No wonder the Blood Skull seized the opportunity to sneak attack him. So it was Feng Mingwanchong who made things difficult for him. Feng Mingwanchong was injured, and the Blood Skull was sent flying. There should be an expert secretly helping him. This Feng Mingwanchong was really shameless. Just as Ling Xiao said, today's duel was originally a private duel, and no one asked the Phoenix Academy to do any publicity. However, the Phoenix Academy wanted to use this opportunity to make money, which was even more shameless. Now that they lost money, they're blaming others for not coming on time. Simply shameless. It was a pity that everyone understood these principles, but no one dared to say them out loud in front of Phoenix Cry Wanchong. Ling Xiao was not only the first, but he was also the only one. Feng Qingyan took the opportunity to laugh and said, Phoenix Cry Wanchong, I really feel ashamed to be on the same level as you. In the past, I didn't care how you treated me, but to use such a despicable method to deal with a junior, you really can do it. Feng Mingwanchong's mouth was not inferior to Ling Xiao's. Every word was full of sarcasm, which made Feng Mingwanchong want to jump up and kill Ling Xiao on the spot. But he still had not solved the problem in his spiritual sea, so he could not kill Ling Xiao. Not to mention, he still did not understand what had happened, and who helped Ling Xiao. Good. Very good. In terms of bickering, I, Feng Mingwanchong, admit defeat. I am not Qingshu College's opponent. However, Ling Xiao, you better remember this. If you're lucky enough to survive the Blood Skull's attack today, I'll kill you too. I won't give you any chance to live. Feng Mingwanchong was completely shameless. I am shameless. I am unreasonable. I am strong enough. And that is enough. His words made many martial artists secretly shake their heads. It could not be helped. This was the truth. No matter how reasonable or correct you were, it was useless. If someone was stronger than you, they would be able to control your life. If they wanted you to live, you would live. If they wanted you to die, you would die. This was Feng Mingwanchong. This was Phoenix Academy. The Phoenix Academy had always been like this. Those who offended them, no matter how eloquent or reasonable they were would not be able to avoid death. Ha 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 ha. Feng Ming Wanchong, you are shameless and overbearing. But don't forget, I, Feng Mingyan, am not dead yet. Feng Qingyan suddenly laughed loudly and said, although I can only represent myself, I'll really put my words out here today. As long as your phoenix cry, Wanzhong, dares to make a move against Ling Xiao, I'll definitely make all the geniuses of your phoenix cry clan die. If you don't believe me, we can try. Old Phoenix Qingyan, do you know what you are saying? Feng Ming Wanchong said with a gloomy face, do you want to start a war between the Fire Phoenix clan and the Ice Phoenix clan? How dare you bully the weak and bully the young with your strength? Damn, Feng Ming Wanchong is really shameless. No wonder he dared to sneak an attack on Ling Xiao. This guy doesn't care about his face at all. That's right. In the crowd, many martial artists felt that Phoenix Cry Wanchong was truly too excessive. Only the magistrate was allowed to set fires, but the commoners were not allowed to light lamps. How could there be such a shameless request in this world? Feng Mingyan sneered and said, what a joke. You want to kill the benefactor of my Fire Phoenix clan. That is also bullying the weak. So what if I kill the younger generation of your Ice Phoenix clan? There should be a limit to how shameless you can be. Benefactor? How can he be the benefactor of your Fire Phoenix clan? Feng Ming Wanchong was stunned and asked, that is none of your business. Feng Ming Wanchong said indifferently. Feng Ming Wanchong said angrily, so what if he is your benefactor? Do you really want to make an enemy of our Ice Phoenix clan for an outsider? I have said that I only represent myself. I don't represent the Fire Phoenix clan or Qingshu College. Feng Ming Wanchong spoke cautiously. His identity was special, so he could only represent himself. Ha ha ha, representing yourself? You think too highly of Feng Ming Wanchong. If you leave the Fire Phoenix clan or Qingshu College, I guarantee that you won't live past tomorrow. Feng Ming Wanchong laughed loudly. Is that so? Then we can try. Feng Ming Wanchong was still calm and composed. He didn't look nervous at all. Humph. Do you think you don't represent us just because you say so? If you offend our Ice Phoenix clan and Phoenix Academy, even Qingshu College and the Fire Phoenix clan will have to disappear from this world. Feng Ming Wanchong said in a cold voice. This really gave everyone a fright. It was originally a duel between two disciples. How did things develop to this point? Ice Phoenix clan against Fire Phoenix clan? Or Phoenix Academy against Qingshu College? These were all important forces in the Divine Phoenix Empire. Once the war started, the Divine Phoenix Empire would be in a mess. I believe what Feng Ming Qishan said, but you don't have the right. A cold voice said slowly. An ordinary-looking young man stood up from the crowd. Of course, he only looked ordinary. Chapter 971. A young man walked out of the crowd. This person stood in the crowd and restrained his aura. He looked like an ordinary spectator, but at this moment, when he released his aura, there was a calmness that encompassed everything. Ling Xiao didn't know this person, but it seemed that he was from the Fire Phoenix tribe. Otherwise, he wouldn't have targeted Feng Ming Wanchong. Your Highness! Seeing this person, Feng Ming Wanchong was shocked and realized that he had misspoken. Although the secret conflict between the Ice Phoenix clan and the Fiery Phoenix clan was already an open secret, no one had ever dared to reveal it to the public. If they did so, they would become the sinner of the entire Divine Phoenix clan. The instigator of the internal conflict would become the public enemy of the entire clan. In the past, when the Divine Phoenix Nation was established, there was a rule that no internal strife was allowed. Although this rule was basically in name only now, but rules were rules. They didn't follow the rules secretly, but they still had to follow them on the surface. In the past, the Dark Phoenix tribe broke such a rule and was excluded from the election of the emperor. Now they weren't doing well. Crown Prince? Could this person be Feng Yinshan? Ling Xiao naturally thought of Feng Yinshan of the Fire Phoenix tribe. After all, Feng Mingqishan of the Ice Phoenix tribe wouldn't help him like this. Your Highness, I was angry just now, so I misspoke. I hope your Highness can forgive me. Feng Ming, Wanchong added. You are from the Ice Phoenix tribe, so I don't dare to do anything to you. Otherwise, Qishan will come and fight me to the death. Sit down. No matter what, the Fire Phoenix tribe and the Ice Phoenix tribe must be united. Otherwise, it won't be good if the enemy takes advantage of the situation. Feng Yinshan smiled. His words were neither angry nor angry, but Feng Ming Wanchong couldn't refute it. What are you pretending for? If you really want to be united, why don't your Fire Phoenix tribe join our Ice Phoenix tribe? Feng Ming Wanchong didn't dare to say it out loud, but he felt disdain in his heart. Yinshan, when did you come? Feng Qingyan interjected at this moment. Uncle Qingyan, I've been here for a while. Everyone sit down. The battle isn't over yet. We can't steal the limelight. Feng Yinshan glanced at Feng Qingyan and the others, smiled, and then took the lead to sit in the seat reserved for him. Peacock Phoenix's son, Kong He, greets the Crown Prince. Pengyu, son of the heavenly Pengyu, pays his respects to your Highness. In terms of fame, the 10 great phoenixes were supposed to be equal. However, Feng Yinshan, who is also one of the 10 great phoenixes, was even more famous because he was the heir to the Fire Phoenix tribe. Furthermore, he was ranked second among the 10 great phoenix sons, second only to Phoenix Cry Qishan, who was ranked first. He was also ranked higher than the Peacock Phoenix Sun and the Heavenly Rock Phoenix Sun. It was reasonable for the two of them to be respectful to him. You two don't have to be so polite. If you have time, you can spar with me. For now, let's just watch the competition. Feng Yinshan's attitude was very gentle. Aside from the initial intimidating display of his domineering aura towards Phoenix Cry Wanchong, the rest of the time he looked very calm and composed, giving off a good impression. Another member of the royal family, Ling Xiao, smiled inwardly. Indeed, in the imperial city, one could often see some extraordinary people. In the past, he had only heard of Feng Yinshan's name, but he had never seen Feng Yinshan. Now that he had seen him today, he was quite shocked. It seemed that the difference in strength between the 10 great phoenixes of the Divine Phoenix Empire was quite large. If he guessed correctly, this Feng Yinshan only needed a move or two to easily deal with the Peacock Phoenix Sun and the Heavenly Rock Phoenix Sun. Wait! Ling Xiao suddenly raised his hand and said, Your Highness, I am naturally very happy that you are here to watch the battle between me and the Blood Skull. However, can you ask that piece of shit next to you to scram? He was naturally referring to Phoenix Cry Wanchong. Brat, what did you say? Phoenix Cry Wanchong said angrily. I said that you are a piece of shit, and a despicable piece of shit. What's wrong? Ling Xiao said coldly, Scram. If you don't leave today, this battle will not be able to continue. Feng Yinshan frowned. He had heard of Ling Xiao's arrogance, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. He actually dared to ask Phoenix Cry Wanchong to scram. At this moment, Phoenix Cry Wanchong had become the target of public criticism. Everyone's eyes were on him. If he did not leave, the battle would not begin. However, if he left, then he would really be afraid of Ling Xiao. Brat, just you wait. In the end, Phoenix Cry Wanchong could not stand the awkwardness of being stared at by so many people. More importantly, he had to hurry back to heal his injuries. In his spirit sea, the terrifying soul power had been tormenting him, making him feel very uncomfortable. Just scram. Seeing Phoenix Cry Wanchong leave, Ling Xiao could not help but sneer. An inconspicuous butterfly flew out of his sleeve and sped up to leave the square, catching up to Phoenix Cry Wanchong. Did he really think that he could safely return to the Phoenix Academy to heal his injuries after plotting against him? He, Ling Xiao, was not someone who would be easy to talk to. Blood Skull, how long are you going to lie there for? Just now, an outsider affected our battle. Next, let's fight fair and square. He knew that the Blood Skull was not injured. After all, most of the Human King's power had been used to deal with Phoenix, Cry, Wanchong. The only thing that had truly hit the Blood Skull was the residual energy. The Blood Skull returned to the arena and coldly looked at Ling Xiao. He suddenly asked, "Was that energy yours?" "No." "Then you will definitely lose." The Blood Skull sneered. If the energy had belonged to Ling Xiao, then the Blood Skull really had no confidence in today's battle. However, since that energy did not belong to Ling Xiao, he had nothing to fear. In front of him, Ling Xiao was not even worth mentioning. He wanted to let Ling Xiao understand how stupid it was to provoke the Blood Skull and kill his brother-in-law. Of course, the Blood Skull also carried the heavy responsibility of regaining face for the Phoenix Academy. Therefore, he could not afford to lose. The blood-red aura of death erupted once again, and the Blood Skull's eyes turned blood-red. Ling Xiao sensed that the Blood Skull's body seemed to have changed again. He seemed to be stronger than before. "I have to thank you. If not for that attack just now, my cultivation would not have broken through so quickly." The Blood Skull's face revealed a mocking smile. His cultivation had actually broken through to the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements. Previously, he had been unable to break through his shackles, but now, after being sent flying out of the arena by Ling Xiao, he had broken through. Because of this, his confidence grew even stronger. "Is that so? Then perhaps I will have more fun." A calm smile appeared on Ling Xiao's face. Under the shadow, profound meaning. An ice-cold sword consciousness was released once again. Although he said that he did not care about his opponent, Ling Xiao would not underestimate him. Just like how a lion would use all its strength to catch a rabbit, he did not want to fail miserably. When others failed miserably, they still had help. If he failed miserably, he would never be able to stand up again. Chapter 972. 4 Symbols Sky Initial Stage? You actually managed to break through again in just a few days? Looks like your talent is indeed outstanding. Combined with your level 5 lower tier sword essence, it might have been easy for you to kill Kolong and Kuyu, but it's not enough for me. It's not too late to admit defeat. Blood Skull looked at Ling Xiao with disdain. He was truly disdainful and contemptuous. He knew that Ling Xiao had killed Kolong and Kuyu, but at the same level of cultivation, the two of them couldn't even last one move against him. Furthermore, he was already at the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements, so those two were not even worth mentioning. You said the same thing to me before he was killed. I wonder if you'll end up like him. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Your mouth is indeed powerful, but I wonder if your strength is as good as yours. Blood Skull snorted. Next, I'll make sure that mouth of yours will never be able to speak again. Blood Skull didn't waste any more words. He took a step forward with his right foot, and his body suddenly moved forward. In an instant, he was right in front of Ling Xiao. 2 blood-red skulls emitted a strange light in his hands. They were aimed directly at Ling Xiao's vital points. Crimson Sun, feathered raiment. Ling Xiao didn't move. He only channeled his heavenly elemental energy and activated the Crimson Sun, feathered raiment. A blazing light enveloped his entire body. Boom! With a loud boom, the Crimson Sun, feathered raiment exploded. Blood Skull's fists landed directly on Ling Xiao's body. However, the Crimson Sun, feathered raiment had negated most of the attack, so the power wasn't that great. Ling Xiao didn't even move. Interesting. This is the first time someone has blasted my Crimson Sun, feathered raiment apart. Ling Xiao looked at Blood Skull. The natural fist technique had a strange aura that could disintegrate the opponent's heavenly elemental energy. This was fatal to the Crimson Sun feathered raiment. Ling Xiao is too arrogant. His defensive technique can't defend against Blood Skull's attack at all. Yeah, but this guy's body is really tough. He took a punch from the Blood Skull just now, and now he's taken another punch. Yet he's still fine. I think he's only fine on the surface, but he must have suffered some internal injuries. Don't you guys know about the Blood Skull's heavenly yuan energy? It's extremely soft and mysterious, and it can penetrate through any opening. If he touches it, he'll be in big trouble. Most of the spectators felt that Ling Xiao had underestimated his opponent. He actually dared to let the blood skeleton touch him, which was a huge taboo when fighting against the blood skeleton. Even if the 10 great phoenixes were to fight with the blood skeleton, they would not allow the blood skeleton to get close to them. Ling Xiao was simply spinning a cocoon around himself. Looks like you're really only good at talking. Your strength is really nothing much. The Blood Skull couldn't help but sneer as he realized that he didn't take Ling Xiao seriously at all. With your punches that are like scratching an itch, it wouldn't be a problem for me to take 8 or 10 punches, Ling Xiao said indifferently. Naturally, Ling Xiao didn't care about the previous attack. Of course, he knew that the Blood Skull's attack was very dangerous. The reason why he did that was not to show off, but to absorb some of his opponent's heavenly yuan energy and then let his mountain river martial spirit analyze it. This way, he could quickly find a way to end the battle in one fell swoop. This blood skeleton was truly more powerful than any of the young experts he had met before. Even the great deacon from the Crystal Factory, who was at the peak of the Avalon of 5 elements, was not worthy of carrying blood skeleton's shoes. Geniuses were indeed geniuses. At the same level of cultivation, their fighting strength was much higher. Of course, he wasn't afraid, because he was a super genius. However, it was time for him to show his prowess in the upcoming battle. Gently stroking his storage ring, the golden crow sword appeared in his hand. Together with his golden hair, golden eyes, and golden body, he really gave off a dazzling feeling. Seeing the golden crow sword, Feng Yanran was a little excited. She was the one who had helped Ling Xiao win the golden crow sword. Although it was still Ling Xiao who had paid the price, she still had some credit. If Ling Xiao could defeat the Blood Skull with this sword, that would be great. Yuan Yin nodded slightly when she saw the sword. Looks like my guess is correct. The person wearing the ghost mask is most likely closely related to Ling Xiao. Otherwise, the golden crow sword wouldn't have ended up in his hands. Of course, she was also looking forward to Ling Xiao's victory. After all, this sword came from her heavenly dragon auction house. With the golden crow sword in hand, Ling Xiao's aura became even more powerful. An austere aura filled the entire arena, causing many people to shiver involuntarily. I've long heard that Ling Xiao is good at using swords. It seems that it's true. He didn't make a move just now, so he was at a disadvantage. What will happen next? What the spectators wanted was a lively scene, not a one-sided battle. Of course, Ling Xiao couldn't be too weak. Otherwise, if the battle ended quickly, they would have come here in vain. Seeing Ling Xiao take out the golden crow sword, their interest was immediately piqued. Do you think you can defeat me with this lousy sword? The Blood Skull sneered. Then you can try. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and pointed the golden crow sword at the Blood Skull. The originally cold sword intent instantly became scorching hot. The Blood Skull felt as if his body was being melted by the scorching sword intent. He couldn't help but look at his chest. There was a burnt smell coming from his clothes. Although they weren't burned, he had never heard of a technique that could cause physical damage with just sword intent. It was true that sword intent could injure people, but it was usually aimed at the soul. Besides, it could also increase the power of one's moves. Ling Xiao could actually condense sword intent into a physical attack. What kind of sword intent was this? The The blood skull snorted coldly. He knew that he couldn't give Ling Xiao a chance to condense a powerful sword intent. In terms of soul power, he was inferior to Ling Xiao. Therefore, he could only win with his moves. Bloodthirsty Demon Claw. With a roar, the blood skull charged forward once again. This time, it was filled with vigor and vigor. Not only did it break through the lock of Ling Xiao's sword intent, but it also directly hit Ling Xiao's ribs. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao's body could be tough. If the first time didn't work, then the second time. If the second time didn't work, then the third time. He firmly believed that his fist could break through Ling Xiao's defense. Red Sun all. Ling Xiao also made his move. The tip of his sword trembled, and a dazzling light instantly condensed into a red sun all. Then, with a whistling sound, it pierced through the air and pierced towards the blood skull like a lightning bolt. Break! The blood skull let out a wild roar, and a pale white bone armor gradually appeared on its fists. Then, blood-red flames started to burn on its fists. Boom! The two fists collided with the red sun all. After a short stalemate, the red sun all was shattered, and the remaining blood-red flames rushed towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's expression didn't change. Holding the sword in his right hand, he grabbed the flames with his left hand and absorbed them completely. This flame can affect a warrior's blood and qi. No wonder no one dares to take it head-on. Ling Xiao couldn't help but laugh inwardly as his mountain, river, martial spirit analyzed the characteristics of the blood-red flames. Chapter 973. Perhaps the blood skull's bloody flames would be able to take advantage of any other cultivator. However, the blood skull couldn't take advantage of Nye Tian at all. The mountain river martial spirit contained everything. It contained everything in the boundless universe. After Nye Tian absorbed the energy, it was instantly sealed and couldn't cause him any harm. Upon seeing this, the blood skull's eyes widened in shock. However, he didn't stop after failing to kill Nye Tian. At this moment, the white bone armor on his hand had already covered him completely. White bone blood fiend fist. The blood skull punched out again. This time, the blood-red flames were even more vigorous. Nye Tian could even see some bone spikes in the flames. The bone spikes wouldn't be melted by the flames, but they could still pose a great threat to Ling Xiao. Shadow Cone! Ling Xiao shook the golden crow sword in his hand. It didn't seem like he was doing anything, but the shadow cone had already formed and pierced towards the blood skull's vital point from a very strange angle. What? The blood skull's reaction was much faster than Kuyu's. The moment the shadow all was formed, he felt threatened. Yu Shi's attack turned into a defense. Relying purely on his intuition, he punched the shadow cone's trajectory. Boom! The white bone blood fiend fist hit the shadow cone, but it didn't hit it directly. The shadow cone was too fast. Moreover, it came and went without a trace. The remaining power of the shadow cone bombarded the blood skull's body and sent him flying. Once again, the blood skull fell off the stage. However, his body was unharmed. His clothes were torn apart, revealing his body, which was covered by the white bone armor. This was a life-and-death battle. Even if the blood skull was knocked off the stage, it wouldn't be considered a victory. However, there was no doubt that Ling Xiao had gained the upper hand in this battle. The blood skull jumped back onto the stage. His expression was somewhat unsightly as he said, "It seems that I have underestimated you. You are stronger than those pieces of trash, but you are only qualified to carry my shoes. The battle has just begun." After saying this, the blood skull clasped his hands together. 13 skulls of the same size appeared behind his back. Each of the skulls exuded a destructive aura of death, as if they wanted to devour people's souls. 13 blood-red skulls. This was probably the origin of the blood skeleton's nickname. So much so that people had forgotten his real name. Skeleton, martial spirit. Moreover, he has condensed 13 of them. It is said that the strength of this blood skull martial spirit depends on the number of skulls. It is very difficult for an ordinary martial artist to condense 1 or 2 skulls, but he has condensed 13 of them. He is indeed formidable. I'm afraid that Ling Xiao's attack has completely enraged the blood skull. That's why he's so angry. This battle is no longer a joke. It's a real battle. Can Ling Xiao still hold on? The spectators grew nervous. After all this time, the blood skull still hadn't shown their true strength. This was going to be interesting. You're just being stubborn. Unfortunately, I'm just playing around. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a gigantic eye peeked out from the void. The pupil of the eye was like a red sun. The rest of the eye was black, like the deep universe. It was filled with a strange and mysterious feeling. This was naturally the eye of the world. When Ling Xiao released the eye of the world, it meant that he was going to use the mountain and river martial spirit. The eye of the world was the external manifestation of the mountain and river martial spirit. It was the terminal of the mountain and river martial spirit's power. When the eye of the world opened, all of the blood skull's attacks had nowhere to hide. The ice-cold, deathly skeleton was completely reflected in the red, sun-like pupil. The pupil reflected the slaughter sword intent, the destruction sword intent, and the mountain and river martial spirit. The martial artists, who were originally trembling because of the deathly aura of the skeleton martial spirit, felt much better at this moment. The aura released by the eye of the world neutralized the deathly aura. It is indeed a battle between 2 strong martial artists. This battle is going to be interesting. When the spectators saw this scene, they naturally became more excited. What they wanted to see the most was an exciting battle. Neither side could be too weak. Good boy, I was wrong. Your strength is enough to fight with me. However, it's just a battle. It's not enough for me to use my full strength. The blood skull was a little surprised by Ling Xiao's performance. However, it was just a little surprise. Although Ling Xiao's performance was a little surprising, it was still within his control. Therefore, he didn't care. Is that so? However, in my opinion, you're not even qualified to carry my shoes. If you are still not willing to use your full strength, I will end this battle. Ling Xiao said indifferently. The blood skull had been talking to him in a condescending manner, as if he, the blood skull, was very powerful. Ling Xiao found his words laughable. All right, since you want to die quickly, I will fulfill your wish. The blood skull's face turned red when he heard Ling Xiao's words. He originally wanted to torture Ling Xiao for a while before killing Ling Xiao. Only in this way would he be able to completely eliminate the hatred in his heart. However, every time he attacked, he seemed to be unable to embarrass Ling Xiao. Coupled with Ling Xiao's words, the blood skull didn't want to wait any longer. He was really going to go all out. Skeleton hell. As the blood skull's cold voice sounded, the 13 skulls behind him appeared in front of him and formed a blood-red ring of fire. The ring of fire grew larger and larger, causing the space within it to change. There was no longer any living thing in the space. Even the elements had been completely killed. The space had completely turned into a blood-red land of death. Then, the death space crashed toward Ling Xiao at an extremely fast speed. It wanted to envelop Ling Xiao, destroy him, and rob him of his life force. What kind of move is this? I have never seen the blood skull use it before. It is too scary. At this moment, a sparrow flew over from nowhere. The pitiful sparrow didn't know what kind of danger it was facing and directly passed through the death space. The sparrow reappeared in front of everyone. Its body was festering, its eyes were lifeless, and its movements were sluggish. It was as if it had become a real walking corpse. This was even more terrifying than killing it. What the hell is this? The spectators sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the cultivators, who were much stronger than the blood skull, shook their heads. After seeing this scene, They wouldn't want to fight the Blood Skull even if they were beaten to death. The Blood Skull was simply a monster. How could its moves be so evil and dangerous? Dai Yuling, Lan Yu, and the others were so nervous that they grabbed each other's hands, trembling with fear. Although they knew that Ling Xiao could neutralize this move, they were still very nervous. While the Blood Skull released the skeleton hell, Ling Xiao naturally didn't stay idle. A huge golden crow, condensed from heavenly yuan energy, hovered above the tip of his sword. It was growing bigger and hotter. Chapter 974. Finally, when the skeleton hell was less than 3 meters away from him, Ling Xiao thrust his sword forward. Golden Crow ascends the sun. Although this move was a group attack, it could produce different effects depending on how it was used. Naturally, the Golden Crow was the best way to deal with such a space of death. A loud cry resounded in the air as the Golden Crow pounced on the skeleton hell without any hesitation. A golden light flickered as the terrifying temperature rose sharply. A moment later, the space of death was completely incinerated and vaporized. Although the Golden Crow had shrunk a lot, it didn't slow down and continued to pounce on the Blood Skull. The Blood Skull sneered as the white bone armor on his body started to burn with blood-red flames. At the same time, 13 skulls started to revolve around his body. What the Golden Crow had destroyed just now was only a single attack. It hadn't destroyed his martial soul. At this moment, the area around the Blood Skull was like a forbidden zone. Anything that came close to it, including energy and items, would dissipate and disappear completely. When the Golden Crow flew in front of the Blood Skull, its blood-red flames turned into a huge ghost claw and crushed the Golden Crow to death. Kid, don't think that you're the only one with amazing defense. My defense isn't any weaker than yours. The combination of the skeleton martial soul and the white bone armor is far more powerful than you can imagine. With your strength, you won't be able to break it. The Blood Skull sneered. Today, I'm invincible, so you'll die without a doubt. Ling Xiao's expression was still as indifferent as ever. The eye of the world flickered with strange inscriptions as it quickly analyzed the weaknesses of the white bone armor and the skeleton martial soul. Faced with the Blood Skull's smug smile, Ling Xiao said indifferently, "Even I don't dare to say that my defense is unbreakable. How dare you boast so shamelessly? It seems like you're very proud of your defense." "Yes, I'm that confident," the Blood Skull said. "Very good. Then let my attack destroy your defense and destroy your confidence." Ling Xiao's cold and mocking voice came out of his mouth. Then, a cone-shaped object formed by black and white appeared on Ling Xiao's Golden Crow sword. The light became even hotter. The darkness was even colder. Divine light shadow all. The Golden Crow sword in his hand trembled slightly, and the divine all of light and shadow pierced through the air, causing the air to emit a miserable wail. What? The Blood Skull was an expert. The eyes of experts were all very sharp. The moment the light and shadow divine all pierced through the air, he knew that his white bone armor and his skeleton martial spirit would not be able to withstand it. Boom! A crisp sound that was completely devoid of any stumbling resounded throughout the entire plaza. A skull was instantly smashed into pieces, and then a crack appeared on the white bone armor. The Blood Skull tried to dodge, but it was already too late. He could only try his best to fuse his heaven essence energy into the white bone armor in an attempt to block Ling Xiao's terrifying attack. "It's useless. Be destroyed." The cold voice sounded again, and his golden hair danced in the air. The light and shadow divine all was invincible. It was unstoppable. It pierced through the white bone armor, pierced through the blood skeleton's body, and went straight through. Rumble. After piercing through the Blood Skull's body, the light and shadow divine all hit the ground, creating a huge hole in the ground that was made of special materials. The spectators' hearts trembled when they saw this scene. The skeleton martial spirit was shattered? The white bone armor had actually cracked. Just how powerful was this attack? The blood skull was indescribably shocked when he saw the wound on his body that was bleeding profusely. Impossible. How can your attack be so powerful? Aren't you at the four symbols celestial realm? The blood skull was not weak at all. One had to know that Ling Xiao had used this attack to kill the great deacon of the Avalon of 5 elements. At this time, the blood skeleton only had a hole in its body. For a celestial realm warrior, this was not a serious injury. It was just that the defense that he was so proud of had been destroyed. The blood skull's confidence had plummeted. He had been absolutely confident that he could defeat Ling Xiao, but now he was afraid that Ling Xiao would follow up with another attack and kill him. The blood skull's perfect defense had been destroyed. This was a huge blow to him. I have to praise you for being able to survive my divine light and shadow wall. You're the first person to have survived after this move was created. Ling Xiao praised from the bottom of his heart. He was very happy. He was happy that the blood skull would allow him to try out more powerful moves. Although he hadn't been able to comprehend the new light and shadow profound meaning in the Heaven Essence Pagoda, he had tried to combine the golden crow, soaring sun, and the void shadow crocodile and created a new move. He had thought that he wouldn't be able to use it today, but now it seemed like that wasn't the case. He was very satisfied with the blood skull's performance. Kid, don't be too arrogant. Do you think that just because you've hurt me, you can boast so shamelessly without any fear? The blood skull's wound had gradually stopped bleeding. In order to stop the bleeding, he had used up one of his skulls. Out of the original 13 skulls, only 11 were left. One had been shattered by Ling Xiao, while the other had been used to heal his wound. I'm not arrogant. You are the arrogant one. You always thought that you could easily defeat me, but now you are the one who is injured, not me. Is that why you are angry? Ling Xiao mocked. Fine. You forced me to do this. Don't blame me. The next move was originally intended to be used against the 10 great Phoenix Suns. You should be honored to be able to enjoy such treatment in advance. The blood skull revealed a maniacal smile. It turns out that the blood skull still has a trump card. This is interesting. I wonder how terrifying he will be when he unleashes all of his strength. The spectators became excited again. They had thought that the battle would end here. They hadn't expected that there would be a twist. I hope you won't disappoint me. Ling Xiao didn't attack directly. He wanted to give the blood skull a chance. Otherwise, he wouldn't be satisfied if the battle ended just like this. Aren't you going to attack? The blood skull asked. No need. Ling Xiao shook his head. You will regret it. You will regret missing the best opportunity to win. The blood skull sneered. He opened his mouth and sucked the remaining 11 skulls into his body. Dong! Dong! The blood skull's body began to make strange sounds. Moreover, his body was rapidly becoming louder. Skeleton battle body. As the blood skull roared, his entire body underwent a shocking change. He had originally looked somewhat human. Now he looked like a monster wrapped in a blood-red skeleton. His body was covered in blood-red bones. Even his head had become a blood-red skull. Not only that, his body was at least 4 or 5 times larger than before. He had a tall body and 2 long-boned spurs on his arms, which were constantly emitting blood-red flames. Chapter 975. If transforming into a skeleton monster was only a change on the surface, then the increasing aura was an internal change. Boom! With a loud explosion, the blood skull's skeletal battle body finally took shape. This is 6th level Sky Realm, 6 Art Sky Realm. What a terrifying aura. No wonder he said this move was meant to deal with the 10 great phoenixes. It can directly raise one's cultivation level. This trump card is indeed terrifying. It can actually devour the skeleton martial soul and combine it with the white bone armor to form a completely new skeletal battle body. How can Ling Xiao defeat him? Sigh, I'm afraid Ling Xiao is dead for sure. Everyone was shocked. They were shocked that the Blood Skull's strength had increased so much even after the battle had started. Did Ling Xiao have any countermeasures? This is your trump card. Ling Xiao also revealed a look of admiration. The Blood Skull was indeed a genius. He actually knew how to merge two martial arts into one. He thought he was the only one who knew how to do it. 6-art Sky Realm. Even if it was only the early stage, it was still troublesome. If the Blood Skull was an ordinary early stage 6-art Sky Realm martial artist, Ling Xiao wouldn't be afraid. With his early stage 4-symbol Sky Realm cultivation, he should be able to win. However, the Blood Skull wasn't an ordinary martial artist. He was a genius martial artist. A difference of 2 realms was really difficult to deal with. In the spectator stands, Chu Mu sneered and said, "It seems like we don't have to do anything. Ling Xiao will definitely die at the hands of the Blood Skull." However, the people from the Phoenix Academy weren't happy. Sikong Zun snorted and said, "I actually have to use the skeletal battle body to deal with Ling Xiao. The Blood Skull is too disappointing. Vice Principal, don't worry too much. It's good that you won." Beside him, Heavenly Venerable Miracle Hand Sunshang said with a smile, "That's true. The most important thing now is to kill this kid. He actually made the Phoenix Academy lose so much face. If he doesn't die, we won't be able to rest in peace." Sikong Zun nodded. Actually, he was thinking more about the True Devil Empire. As the chosen one of the Sky Dragon Continent, as long as this brat did not die, the Sky Dragon Continent's martial warriors would not be able to completely submit to their True Devil Empire. After all, the chosen one was still alive, which meant that the Sky Dragon Continent would recover one day. This meant that the human race could once again rule over the profound world. Therefore, Ling Xiao must die. Only when Ling Xiao was dead would everything return to normal. "Uncle Qingyan, is Ling Xiao all right?" Feng Yanran asked nervously. "Life and death are up to fate. Success and failure are up to the heavens. There's nothing we can do about it. This is a battle of life and death. It's not our place to interfere. Whether or not he can survive will depend on his own fortune." Feng Qingyan didn't have much confidence in Ling Xiao. This was because the strength that the Blood Skull had displayed was simply too powerful. Even Cold Plum began to worry. Cold Plum had seen Ling Xiao's light and shadow divine all before. She believed that it was Ling Xiao's strongest attack. However, today's light and shadow divine all only managed to break the Blood Skull's defense. The results were not satisfactory. Then, what other methods did Ling Xiao have to deal with the transformed Blood Skull? Almost everyone present felt that Ling Xiao's life was in danger. However, some people were happy while others were worried. The Blood Skull stared at Ling Xiao with its huge blood-red eyes. It looked down at the little guy in front of it and said domineeringly, "I said that you will regret letting me use my skeleton battle body. However, you should be proud that you forced me to use this move. I can give you a chance to leave behind your last words, because once I make my move, you may not have another chance. You really talk a lot of nonsense." Ling Xiao looked at the Blood Skull and lightly waved the golden crow sword in his hand. In the sky, the eyes of the world stared at the Blood Skull. With everything under his control, Ling Xiao finally made his move. The seemingly ordinary sword strike tore through the void and pierced towards the Blood Skull. "Is this kid going to die? I don't understand. What kind of move is this? It has no special characteristics at all. Don't be so noisy. Why are you shouting if you don't understand? There must be some other purpose to this sword strike." The discussion in the crowd finally stopped. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the golden crow sword in Ling Xiao's hand. They really wanted to know what kind of secret Ling Xiao's sword strike contained. "Kid, are you courting death?" Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. The blood skull also couldn't understand Ling Xiao's sword strike. He felt that Ling Xiao was looking down on him. He furiously struck out with both hands. The slender bone spurs flickered with a blood-red light. Like a bloodthirsty beast, they pounced towards Ling Xiao. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. The blood skull easily blocked Ling Xiao's sword strike. As expected, it was just an ordinary sword strike. There was nothing special about it. Just as the spectators were about to curse Ling Xiao, the blood skull suddenly shuddered. At that moment, he seemed to have seen the prelude to his death. Something's wrong. The blood skull, as well as a few martial artists in the stands with good eyesight, noticed the strange and discordant scene in the fighting ring. A pitch-black shadow crocodile swam out of Ling Xiao's shadow. Void shadow crocodile. Why did Ling Xiao approach the blood skull? It wasn't for anything else. He just wanted to use his body to block the shadow crocodile's attack. It was only at this moment that the spectators realized how difficult it was to deal with Ling Xiao. When fighting with this guy, one really couldn't be careless at all. A moment of carelessness could lead to the misfortune of death. Crack! The crisp sound of something being bitten rang out. Even though the blood skull realized that something was wrong and tried to dodge, his arm was still bitten off by the shadow crocodile. After all, the shadow crocodile was biting his opponent's shadow. It wasn't easy to dodge. Seeing the left half of the blood skull's body covered in blood, the spectators were stunned. At that moment, their gazes seemed to freeze. They couldn't believe their eyes. What just happened? Ling Xiao actually managed to injure the blood skeleton again. What kind of terrifying move was this? When the blood skull used the skeleton battle body, his cultivation temporarily advanced to the early stage of the 6 arts heaven. Everyone present felt that Ling Xiao couldn't defeat the blood skull. He was destined to be killed by the blood skull. The only thing he could do was to struggle for as long as possible. However, Ling Xiao didn't say anything. He used a stunning move to shatter everyone's doubts and easily cripple one of the blood skull's arms. If the blood skull had dodged a little slower, he would have died on the spot. Chu Mu was stunned. Peacock Phoenix Sun was stunned. Sky Rock Phoenix Sun was dumbfounded. Sikong Zun's gaze was also fixed on the spot. He didn't move. Ling Xiao actually managed to injure the blood skull in such a situation. This kid was really difficult to deal with. No. The one who cried out was the blood skull's woman, who was also a disciple of the Phoenix Academy. Previously, she had been smiling to avenge her brother. However, at this moment, her smile seemed to be filled with mockery. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.